So let's see here. Well, man, this is wild. It's episode 30. Remington. I'm down there, buddy. Yep. Big boy.
All right, episode 30. Yeah.
Episode 30, man. It's man, it's kind of hard to believe. It's almost coming up on a year too.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Today I'm joined by Ted.
Also known as Tim.
AKA IE Tim. And Courtney.
Courtney
Chapa with a H.
Chapa.
So
It's a Chapa.
yeah, we're another in-person podcast, another cool one. We're upstairs. We I did move from the last time I did one. It was in the kitchen, and one thing I picked up on when I was editing was every tip-tap of fucking dog toes going through the whole house.
Yeah.
So I've decided to relocate. We're upstairs
To the carpet.
Yeah, to the carpet. Upstairs as well, so we're a whole different floor, different from the dogs. But you still probably will hear a dog occasionally too.
Yep.
Right, Ram? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we have them. You made the travel up. You came from Florida, and then you came from North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Wow, I'm like the epicenter of people, sort of.
Yeah.
So, sort of, kind of
the shit show.
Yeah, the clown show.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Everyone's getting out of the clown car. But yeah, so we got a couple beers in front of us.
Yep.
Oh, that's kind of flat, to be honest with you. I don't know if I like that. I don't know. It's okay.
It's good.
It's like a different flavor. So yeah, we're drinking.
It'll do the trick.
Yeah. So I was trying to find something that wasn't like IPA. So I know because you don't like IPAs, and then something that was kind of like different, wasn't always sour.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my favorite. This is actually they're in Charleston, Edmonds. Pretty gnarly brewery.
Nice. And that is a big can, by the way. For
that is a girthy fucking can. I can't even put my hand around it. Terrifying.
No.
Like if someone like hit you in the face with this, like in the middle of the night, and you just like, well, what would you even say?
Why does that happen?
I should call him. Is that what's?
Yeah. What is that?
Why?
Getting a little out of hand already.
It's like if I was a man for 24 hours, that's all I would do.
What would you do for 24 hours? Okay.
Slap your big girthy things on people's faces?
Yes.
Very aggressive. Very aggressive.
Yes. Well,
nice.
you know.
No.
Hey, whatever it takes.
That's how we do it.
That's how you do it.
Well.
I will say, like,
if she was a man.
If I was a man.
I remember, I think growing up.
Just open your mouth.
No, that never happened to me, but I do know that. I did remember, like, completely passed out. I woke up and had, like, dick straw all over my face one time.
Yeah,
with
well,
permanent markers.
I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, did you not take your shoes off first?
No, I remember, like, so, like, it started off with just, like, screwdrivers, like vodka orange juice screwdrivers. Okay. And then, like, all of a sudden, I don't remember anything else. I was just on the couch, and I remember waking up. Like half, like drool. Like I had fallen asleep, and I drool on myself. Like it was a good sleep. It wasn't like I was like.
Yeah.
I woke up. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, you know? Like, what time is it? It's like 3 o'clock. I get up, go to pee, and then I look in the mirror. and I'm like, oh fuck. You know, it's like, like, you know, look at my face. And I'm like, oh, it's fucking permanent.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's trash. That's not very funny.
Yeah.
I hope you had to work in the morning.
I did not. Fortunately, I did not. Fortunately, no. It was like a spring break thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember it was the general rule of thumb was if you took your shoes off before passing out, you were safe. But if you fell asleep with your shoes on, you were fair game.
That seems like a lot of rules just to draw a dick on somebody's face.
I don't know. I don't understand the rules, but that
when
was
you make
literally
the rules, it's a good way to get out of you know.
It seemed to be the house rule everywhere.
My shoes are off, guys. My shoes are off.
Yeah.
No more silliness.
It's like a force field.
No more silliness.
Yep.
Shoes are off.
Shoes on, because I know that I've drawn many a dick on people with their shoes on, but never on someone with their shoes off. And I only passed out once with my shoes on. Woke up and found out I will never do this again. But they had hydrogen peroxide in their bathroom cabinet, so I cleaned it all off. So when I walked out, they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?
What's
the matter?
Did you do that?"
Magic.
I did like
you can't draw.
We did shave one guy's eyebrow like a quarter of the way off one time and put toothpaste in his ear.
Interesting.
We made the same face.
That's a hell. Neat little touch, I guess.
So where's the razor? The razor's in the bathroom. Oh, what can we get? Oh, toothpaste. Just grab toothpaste.
Let's put it in his ear.
Yeah. There wasn't mouthwash.
I mean, we didn't like shove it like it's like we just
burn his ear canal.
Just put a little dab just to scare him.
Okay.
Just a little something to knock off the edge.
Okay. A little dab.
So shaving off an eyebrow. See, my eyebrows are blonde, so if you did that to me, no one would even notice.
No one would know.
Well, he had like blonder hair, but his eyebrows were definitely like darker.
Ooh, yeah, he's screwed.
But honest to God, though, if you looked at him, like you could not really tell.
Yeah.
Honestly, I probably initiated a trend before it was a trend
because now people, we draw them.
Yep.
People will do like little like
the part
hash
thing.
marks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the shaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never got into that.
To make it look like a scar. I think that was the thing, right? To make it look like you had a scar.
I guess. Maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, I think we all.
I think it was just like I don't know.
This one. Right
we do
here.
all have scars.
Some are on our hearts.
I was about to say. I was like, some are like physical, some are emotional.
See our scars.
Going so deep, and we're 5 minutes in.
I know.
Let's play some My Chemical Romance or something.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a razor, like not the kind you shave your face with?
A cutting joke.
A little too
much.
Wow, bro.
Well, My Chemical Romance.
So that was like the longest monologue I think we've ever had. But so we're joined today by Tim and Courtney. So Tim, you guys kind of have like a mutual, I don't know if I say mutual, but like a common background of helicopters, flight, pilots. So Tim, for those who have not had the audacity to come back, are you done? Are you gonna let me talk? Wow. This is my podcast?
Here we go.
Is this my podcast? Or do you want to be the new host?
I'm sorry.
Anyways, the audacity, AUD. Jesus.
All right.
So, to listen to the podcast with him,
Go
ahead, Tim. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay. Like how we met kind of background, or just my background in general?
Just in general, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was a crew chief door gunner in the Marine Corps, got out after 5 years, and I've been contracting ever since. And did a stint with Courtney on a job for a few years, and then we both left around the same time and went to different companies, and that's when I started doing the Mi-17s with the Special Mission Wing and
very cool.
Door gunning and crew chiefing on them, which I still do to this day.
Very cool. Yep. So, and again, Courtney, are you gonna let me finish?
Are you gonna talk?
Wow. Very aggressive. Anyways, of course. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
So I am a civilian, primarily a helicopter pilot. I came up through the civilian world flying helicopters and ended up working for a company that had a DoD contract in Afghanistan. That's where I worked with Tim. And then moved on to another company. They had contracts in Afghanistan and then later Africa. And I got my fixed wing transition, so I started flying airplanes. And now I work for another company in the Philippines, flying helicopters and airplanes. Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool. So that's kind of it's kind of a unique thing. So Tim, obviously, with more of a military background, but you more civilian background.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing some of the same thing and dabbling in the same areas.
Yeah, it's really crazy because I wanted to be an Army pilot.
Yeah.
I wanted to fly helicopters for the Army. My grandfather flew in the Korean War, and my father was 82nd Airborne. And so I wanted to, continue.
Sure.
I mean, we didn't really have like a family tradition, but they were Army. I wanted to fly in the Army. Unfortunately, I wear glasses. And so pre 9/11, you had to have just perfect vision.
Really?
To be a pilot. Yeah, because you think about it, in between the Gulf War and 9/11, we didn't have many combats going on. They could be extra picky about their requirements for a pilot. So you just had to have naturally 20/20 vision. Now, post 9/11 and all of that, they offer waivers and LASIK is accepted and all of that. But so I didn't join the Army because I couldn't fly. Mm-hmm. So I continued working in the restaurant industry for about 10 years, and then finding a civilian flight school, and took out a loan and went through that process of becoming a rated pilot and a flight instructor. And then I worked building my hours until I qualified for these positions.
That's really cool. So so when you did so how old were you when you made that transition from like going to like the culinary industry to like, you know, aircraft and like being a pilot and stuff?
So when I was 26, actually. Gotcha. I had worked in and out of restaurants since I was 15, so about a decade in the restaurant industry. And I was just kind of at a place where I wasn't, you know, it wasn't my passion. Mm-hmm. I was good at it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed when I was a chef or the pastry chef at one place, because I got to be really creative. But I got really burnt out, and it's very physically demanding. And if it's not your passion, it's just kind of
hard to do.
It really drains you.
Yeah.
And so I was just at a point, like a breaking point, basically, when I was 26, and really decided, okay, you know, what do I want to do? Mm-hmm. And I made the decision. It was a really tough decision because I had lived debt-free. You know, I didn't, you know, like it's hard. So I took out $100,000 loan to go to helicopter flight school.
Is that how much it cost?
It did.
Wow.
And that was kind of the high end on the civilian route. After I can't remember when the post 9/11 GI Bill kind of started taking over. So veterans that came out that served post 9/11 and were in a degree-seeking program could go to flight school. And these flight schools were charging the government about $250,000. So they kind of wrecked the system. And so it's changed a lot since then. But yeah, $100,000 back in 2006, 2008 was kind of the high end. But for a helicopter, for 5 helicopter ratings, it's not terrible. Airplanes are considerably cheaper.
I was going to say, are helicopters like just much more?
Yes.
So did you always want to do helicopters over airplanes?
Yes. Yeah. Grandpa was a helicopter mechanic and pilot. He flew.
Very cool.
He flew the MASH helicopter, the Bell 47, and H-19s. They were called Chickasaws. Mm-hmm. They're like the early version of the troop transport that you later see, like the Sioux and I think the Cheyenne. Like you see in
like the H-34s, the early version of the H-34s.
Yeah. With so they had big radial engines. The pilot sat on top, and you know, the troops were down below.
On the bottom. Yeah.
That's
cool. Like, so it seems like you always knew that's what you were really wanting to do.
Yeah.
So what was like doing culinary, like kind of like testing the waters to see if maybe this is kind of what I do, or was it just something you were very good at? Like you just kind of naturally.
Yeah, you know, I started working when I was 15, and I just kept doing it, and I ended up going to a community college for a culinary degree, and it was basically just to stay on my parents' insurance.
Yeah. Hey. All that. Was like the ultimatum, like you better be working or you're not.
Right. Yeah. There's that age where, like, if you're not going to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like, if you're a certain age, you can go to college and be on your parents' insurance, but.
There's like some murky water. So no, I had to like. I found out very fast. I had to eject. I was like, oh shit, you know, I gotta get fucking insurance. And then like you could be penalized now. I'm not sure if you can't. Well, I think Trump actually took it away. Like you would be penalized if you didn't have health insurance. I know Obama put something in place, like, you know, where you had to have health insurance, otherwise you'd be penalized tax wise. Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
I don't know the ins and outs of the Affordable Health Care Act.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that to comment.
I was
sorry. So we're talking about helicopters, culinary, and Affordable Care Act. Yeah.
Yeah, but a little side of politics in there.
But I mean, I was just working in restaurants.
Yeah.
And so I went to culinary school, and I liked it. And I was a very creative person, and I also run off of adrenaline.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, because it's like being like, so like the one time, like, so for instance, like the thing I did growing up was always like retail stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like always working like customer service, retail. And so like the worst time of the year was always like Black Friday. Mm-hmm. Always Black Friday, and then Christmas is bad, but Black Friday was always the pinnacle because you just have immense amount of people. It's not as bad as it used to be. Mm-hmm. Like now, it's pretty toned down because everyone's like, "I'll just fucking order on my phone," like a normal person. But back then, people still were like, "Gotta get in there, gotta get every fucking deal." It's like so you just deal with like just the worst of everything. Mm-hmm. So, but like during like culinary, like you said, adrenaline. Like I would imagine that's every single night because you have to like be on the top of your game every single night.
Yes. And I worked at a lot of fine dining.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So it's more intense because you have to maintain this level, and everything seems so important,
Yeah.
And it's just like, once I stepped away from the restaurant industry, I can laugh about it now, but like it took almost a decade before I could watch like Gordon Ramsay and Hell's Kitchen without having like flashbacks. Yeah. I mean, it's so intense. And who really, really cares if that guy didn't get his lobster? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like this is just ignorance for me, but like, so when you look at like stuff like Gordon Ramsay, where like it's just like so aggressive in the kitchen and stuff, that's how it is in the.
That's how it was. I think it's changed a lot. The culture, the culture was changing even as I was in it. We were really intense and
accountability and stuff like that.
Temper tantrums were acceptable, and I am not gonna lie. I threw knives at people.
Shit! Holy shit!
Here we go.
This is the podcast. All right, yeah. We turn this up real quick.
Not like I do, in my backyard, but I've thrown hot pans full of oil at people.
Oh, damn.
But it was.
Who are you?
It was kind of acceptable.
Why are you in my house? Get out. That's crazy. So like when you go into stuff like that, like whenever you have experiences like that and you deal with stuff like that, do you find now that anywhere you go somewhere, do you have a higher standard from when you go and eat somewhere?
I set my expectations to what the
surroundings.
Like if I go to Olive Garden,
we've
gone to Olive Garden. Like,
don't trash Olive Garden now.
I love those breadsticks.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Like I know what I'm gonna get. You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm not expecting
a box full of mints,
a beef Wellington with a box full of mints. You know what I set my expectations, but it took a long time for me to like not like focus in
critical
on
stuff.
Not so much that, but just like I can hear the kitchen. And so I always worked in the kitchen, so I can hear the cooks calling for runners, and I hear it and like, runner, run, and I'm like, oh, my food is sitting in the window getting cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try, it was really hard to sit near a kitchen in a restaurant. Now I really don't focus on it. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I set my expectations to the place that I'm eating at.
So if you're in fine dining, you're going to hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're paying
a
ridiculous amount. It's not, and what I can't stand is steakhouses.
Oh,
They're so overpriced.
Aren't they?
Just grill a steak at home. It's so much better.
See, I am on the same mindset of like, because you can really find like a local butcher shop and get a cut,
Yes.
and you can literally grill. And that's what we do. It's just like you can actually grill it to a better standard than most grill houses will.
Yeah.
And they charge like obscene amounts of money for a standard cut of steak that's normally like a B standard or whatever. That's so fucking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's insane.
And I've been out of the restaurant industry since I think around 2010. So it's been 11 years.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely like removed from a lot of that.
You're safe.
Yeah. and I've mellowed with age.
Yeah, I think that's with everybody though. Like, so like stuff like that, I'll always be critical of, just because it's like, okay, hold yourself to a higher standard.
Yeah.
The same thing like with, I couldn't imagine like, so many OCD habits would come from like working in the culinary industry. It would drive me fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like I would just be like, what is this?
But I don't like eating at pretentious places either. I've done it. I've cooked it. I'm not interested in it. Well, I have a shellfish allergy now, but I never really cared
I
for.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I don't care for lobster. I never liked it, even when I could eat it before I developed it.
It's all messy.
It's just not. It's just not good, in my opinion.
It's not as good for the cost that what it costs.
And
I have a funny story.
I cooked, foie gras, like all the fancy shit, and I don't give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Like I just want like all the fancy shit. Like I can do that,
right?
But it's not like when I sit. It's not worth it. When I
Yeah.
sit down to eat, when I cook for myself, obviously ribs.
Big ribs, yeah.
But just usually like a simple grilled steak and some vegetables.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm kind of the same way. So
Yeah.
I'll tell one funny story because you mentioned lobster, and of course it just pings up. So my wife and I were dating at a younger age. I was really absent of like fine. Well, it's funny because I had been to several fine dining restaurants, but I was always like, that weird kid. Like I'll just get chicken tenders, like like whatever. And of course, the chefs in the back like this motherfuckers making chicken tenders, whatever. But so I'm the same way. So it's like I take my my wife and I are going to like a prom date, and her dad drops us off at like one of the nicest restaurants in Augusta, Georgia. Had never been there, and I'm like one of those people who's like, at the time, I'm a lot better now, but I was like, I don't eat any of this stuff. Like I'm looking at the menu, I'm like, I don't even know what that. I don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. And like I said, I have no idea what I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
So we sit down, of course, and he had given me his credit card, like, hey, just get whatever you guys want, blah blah blah. And like to me, that was like my parents never even gave me their credit card.
Yeah.
Growing up at all.
So you're thinking buy the cheapest thing on the menu. So
Pretty
you
much.
don't look like you're doing that.
Pretty much. And it wasn't because I'm like a cheap ass or like I'm just trying. He's like, to me, it's like such a weird thing to do. And so, the waitress or waiter, I think I'm pretty sure the waitress comes up and she was like, oh, how's everyone doing, blah, blah, blah. And we're obviously dressed up for prom, like junior year of high school or something like that.
Yeah.
And she goes through the whole menu, and I'm just like, no. I get just like, I'm looking at the menu. I had already looked at it because I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to eat. And I'm like, I'm just going to get this steak. And I'm just, that's the simplest thing for me. And then she goes, and we have a lobster with scallops. I was like, oh, I like scallops. I can eat scallops. And I'm like, lobster is like pretty similar. And I was like, okay. And so, my wife, she was like, oh, at the time, and she was like, oh, I'll get the lobster with scallops. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll wing it. Yeah, I'll get that too. And that's fine. Had no idea how much it costed.
Oh no.
Never told me the price.
Yeah, because this is special. Yeah.
Yep. Never told the price of it.
$50.
Had no idea.
Oh,
so it comes out, and it's actually a pretty nice size meal, and it's like I start eating it, and no shit, I start getting really nauseous, like really sick to my stomach, and like I can't even eat a quarter of it.
Oh,
like not even any of it. And my wife, same thing. She gets really sick to her stomach as well, and she can't eat all of it. And so like the waitress comes up, oh, blah blah blah, and like at that point she's like, oh, do you want to-go boxes? And it's like, we're about to go to a prom dance, so like anything we do is a waste of, like we can't take this with us, and it's seafood. She's like, oh no, thank you. And so we get the bill, and it was like $75 a meal.
Oh jeez.
And like
per meal.
Per meal.
Oh, wow.
That's even before like tipping and stuff like that. And like obviously it's not the I look back, I'm like, why in the fuck that waitress say, like, to two teenage, like, 16-year-olds, like, oh, this, by the way, this lobster such and such with scallops, 50, 70, you know, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up on the waitress's part. That's like really
I
messed
100%
up.
think she did that on purpose.
Yeah, she's just looking at the tip.
Yeah, and so, like,
who
ever
thinks,
since that day, I was like, I remember, like, getting in the vehicle.
Was it because it was so rich? Like, was it just
I think so.
coated in butter?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it had too much butter on it.
Yeah.
And I literally, like, I've had lobster. Oops, shit. I had lobster again, but it was like, it was better, but I was like, man, damn, I was worried.
Even if she was thinking about the tip, so, like, who looks at two teenagers and thinks they're going to get anything
huge
more
tip,
than, like,
right?
$5
Well,
off,
you run up,
you know?
Yeah, and it's not even like I brought out, it was like, oh, here's his such and such card, here you go.
Yeah.
So it was like at the very end, but yeah, I remember like, I was like, my eyes like went wide, I'm like, holy shit.
$150.
And like a 16-year-old, like, you know, into like a newly girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, like, yeah.
That's
not good, not bueno.
You actually reminded me of a recent thing that I posted on Instagram.
Okay.
Because I was rummaging through stuff, and I found a lapel pin from the American flag with the Secret Service emblem on it.
That's cool. Cool.
So back in 2004, back when I was cooking in New Hampshire, you know, New Hampshire is a huge primary state. So George W. Bush was coming through to kind of, I think he was just stumping for other people, but he stayed. I was working at an inn, so they rented like a cottage for him, and he had ordered from the kitchen. And again, again, this is like fine dining. I think it was 4-star, 5 diamond, I think is the right order. So it's very upscale. And again, the lobster, or the foie gras, or the sweetbreads. Sure. What do you want, sir? What does George W. Bush order? A chicken quesadilla.
That's awesome.
I'll have a chicken quesadilla.
But it's just like,
probably said quesadilla, honestly.
Well, he's from Texas, so I imagine I give him a little bit of benefit of that.
Yeah, right? But it's just like, you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have or what position you're in. Like,
Basics,
they're so much better.
So fast forward like 2 more years, right? And it's like my girlfriend and I, wife and I's anniversary. And at the time, I had just like, I had to pay off, I think it was like car insurance at the time, and like my cell phone bill. And I'd asked my dad, I was like, hey, can I have a little bit of money for to take my girlfriend out, or like, you know, take Abby out? And he was like, I'll give you such and such. And I was like, that's not enough to go like somewhere nicer. Yeah. And he's like, Max, I'm gonna give you some life lessons. If you go to Mexican, food comes out the same way. And like, I just never forget that. So I was like, talking about simplicity. Swear to God, that's what he said to me, like in the drive. And he was like, food goes in and goes out the same way. I'm like, Jesus. Okay.
Man, who doesn't like tacos though? Let's be honest.
That's true.
I'll take a I'll take a Mexican date over any high dollar.
Went to the local Mexican restaurant. Yeah. So I remember that. Yeah. So
Sweet,
I mean, like
tacos, carne asada all day.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Just on top of the chicken quesadilla, coincidental of the Mexican. So we'll get too enveloped in culinary. Culinary is always just cool because I just I don't know. I always have a fast. I like to think that I cook. I'll be honest. My wife cooks more than I do, and she's a lot better cook than I am. Yeah. But well, most times. Yeah. When I put effort into it, I know I can cook something up pretty good. I'm sure she's downstairs trying to be quiet. And she's like,
this motherfucker.
He knows I can't say anything, but I know he can hear me. So, all joking aside, fantastic. She'll probably walk up the stairs and like look over the side and be like,
give the meat mug.
We can But fantastic. But yeah, food's always like who doesn't like food?
Yeah.
Right?
But I can totally see that just being totally burning yourself out, and like a high stand, like you said, the higher stand every single night. Like, oh my, like some days you just have to like have a mental reprieve and like knowing wherever you are, like they're demanding the utmost, and customers are too, and you do it
Yes.
over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that'd be, oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, and I used to pull, when I was sous chef or chef, I would pull probably anywhere between a 12 to 16 hour day.
Oh my God.
So
It's nonstop, and you're on your feet too.
Yes,
Like you're never sitting.
I could usually find somewhere between like 2 and 3 p.m. to sit down and do the books for accounting, and that or write the schedule, and that was it. But and because I don't smoke, like
a lot of them do.
a lot of cooks smoke just so they
do.
can like go out there, sit down on the
nicotine
dock for 3 minutes and inhale a cigarette.
So, what are you scratching over there for, Tim?
What's up?
It's the same way in the Marines with mechanics and crew chiefs and pilots.
Absolutely. If you smoke, you get a break.
Yeah, smokers got a smoke break. Non-smokers didn't.
I remember bitching about that one time, and I was like, so they get like a 30-minute, like couple like different breaks throughout the day because they smoke, and I was like, I don't smoke, but I don't get a break. Like, what the hell? What's up with that?
Right? And they're paid breaks when you're smoking. Well, the Marines don't get paid by the hour.
Yeah,
but
I mean, nothing against smokers, but I'm just saying, I was just like, it was a little pissy, you know.
Yeah.
I can't even afford to smoke, but I was like, the motherfucker gets to smoke, but I can't. I get to take 30 minutes.
Right.
For sure.
Damn. So I'll say one more thing about culinary, and then we'll move on.
Cool.
What was your so like one thing about Gordon Ramsay is he has like these insane like insults. Like my favorite is like panini head. Like I remember he literally called someone a panini head, and I'm like, imagine the audacity. You just get insulted by somebody, and he calls you a fucking panini head, and he's probably saying it like in such a derogatory term that it does come across as like insulting.
Right,
like I just got fucking called a panini head.
Yeah.
And like
or a donkey.
A donkey, yeah. He is a donkey.
That's a good one.
I'm an idiot sandwich. Say I'm an idiot sandwich. I'm an idiot sandwich.
and like if you watch some of his like European ones where he goes around, he one of my buddies sent it to me, and he was like, he straight up called one French chef a French pig. And he was like, "You French pig!" And I was like, "Damn, that's crazy insulting!" Like, he call anyone a pig, but like you derogatory, like said, freaking, French.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, has there ever been a time like, do you have like your go-to insult while you were working in culinary? Like you're like,
besides just outright throwing a knife at them.
Yeah, like an actual like assault or anything like that.
No,
but like,
I guess I'm not that creative. I would just use the C word.
Oh, nice.
The nastiest word in the vocabulary of all English.
To Americans, yeah.
Wow.
To Americans, it's a horrible word.
That is
and
one
it's
word.
Hilarious.
If you said that to an Australian, they'd be like,
yeah.
You too, dude.
That is one word I still don't use to this day. That is one word.
Yeah.
You must piss me off like to some X level for me to like, and normally I'm like, oh.
It's always, people are surprised. I'm very comfortable using that word. I don't want to say it on your podcast, but
it's okay. It's
okay. Do it.
Get out of here, you. Just be gone, you.
I was just kidding.
Mostly just the C word.
Yeah,
nothing like, I know. I mean, donkey or panini those are pretty, like, colorful.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel.
I mean, I guess but so, as I said, I was going to stop right there. Like, what was your favorite dish to cook? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but
actually, one of I guess the thing that I'm famous for is risotto.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's just different. I mean, I do different flavors of risotto with different proteins, either scallops or steak or chicken or anything like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like making risotto.
It sounds bad. Like have you ever heard of risotto before? Like watching anything with Gordon Ramsay?
No.
Same.
I don't really watch too much Gordon Ramsay. Honestly, I only watch highlights when it's like a
best
compilation.
Compilation. Best compilations of like season such and such of Gordon Ramsay going down someone's throat.
Yeah.
Get out. Just like when he just scrunches his face up, like fucking just cracks me up. But
I honestly don't think I could take an insult from him if I was a chef. Well, being where I've been in the military and contracting, I think if someone yelled at me the way he did, I would just laugh with him at him, but at myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I take insults really, really well. And if someone was calling me a donkey or telling me to call myself an idiot
it'd
sandwich,
hard
I'd just be like,
to
okay, I'm an idiot sandwich. Like, what else you got there, Big Daddy? Like, come on, hit me.
I guess it's because people just hold them to a high standard.
Yeah.
You know, I guess like, you know, but I don't know. Like,
a lot of it's probably drama too, you know. Like,
oh, absolutely. Some
make
of
sure you act
so
really scared.
Dramatized. Yeah. So dramatized too. But I couldn't imagine like having someone like, you know, who's like, I guess at a pinnacle and like, you know, in respects. But you know, a lot of those guys like, it's like, I think like they'll hit like that capita of their restaurant, and then normally it doesn't either hold or like a lot of people like look at the reviews and people are like, nah, ain't that good.
Yeah.
But it is pretty cool though. I always like the culinary is such a dude. It's a very vicious. Vicious. What's the word I'm looking for? I won't say job, but what's that?
Industry.
Thank you. But yeah, okay. So helicopters, yeah.
Yeah.
No, talk about fucking helicopters. So how many hot pockets have you made on a helicopter before? But no, in all seriousness, so you've made this huge jump, and Tim, I'm just completely just dissecting you out of the conversation.
Hey, that is cool, man. Like I'm just sitting here drinking my beer.
Yeah. How was that beer, by the way?
This is really good for what is it? Concord
sour
grape or whatever, sour or whatever. Yeah, it's
sour
pretty good.
grape. But I'm just, you know, so you make that huge jump. Was that difficult jumping into, or is it like, you know, transitioning from?
A lot of people think that it was a difficult transition, but you go from a high intensity, male dominated, screaming and yelling industry to another
male dominated screaming industry.
And high intense and you know, just always being tested and always having to measure up and maintain this level.
Yeah.
So it really, like, in those, like, in that sense, it wasn't that much of a transition personality-wise, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, I had to study my ass off and, you know, take flight lessons and all of that. And that was, it's intense. For sure, but I mean, personality-wise, it was an easy transition.
Yeah.
So and like, I think
women in both industries are always having to prove themselves nonstop.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it kind of set you up for what was to come.
Yeah.
Helicopters.
Right.
So I was going to say, so like in the culinary, I've heard and read several times that like it's always like having to go up against the grain as a female, anyone in the culinary industry, and so I can only imagine going into like piloting and stuff like that, because and this sounds sexist, but like if you ever think of like a prototypical pilot off the top of your head, you think of a guy in the whole suit, or you think of someone in the military in a whole suit,
or Maverick.
Tom Cruise.
Maverick.
Tom Cruise.
So like you think of movies and stuff like that, and like you know that typical character, and you don't see women as much in pilot situations. But I will say in recent times, and I'll let you talk, but would you say in the past, maybe we'll say 5 years, has it really grown or developed since then, or is it still very, very much male dominated? It's better than it was?
I don't... So in the DoD contracting world, I haven't seen change.
Yeah.
However, I have seen more and more female pilots, both fixed wing and rotor wing, enter the industry.
Yeah.
And it just kind of... The DoD contracting life is so specific, and it is... for such a small amount of people that can do that.
Takes a special person
life.
to do it.
Yeah.
That applies to men and women. You gotta be tough.
Yeah. It's such a demanding, like, personal life kind of choice. So in that respect, in the DoD world, I haven't seen it, but the last two companies, especially that I've worked for, are very supportive of women.
That's good.
And like I haven't had any issues. I'm just a pilot.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fantastic.
Right, and that's what you want. I mean,
right, absolutely. I just want to do a job.
You just want to be a pilot, not because you're a female, not because you're a male, just because you're a pilot who does good at their job.
Right.
I get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and awesome. I can make fun of myself, and I make the sexist jokes and the misogynistic jokes. But
but it's like you can do that.
Yeah,
you know? Other people do it. It's like wait a minute.
Yeah,
Well, you have the right to do it though.
Yeah,
you know.
But I make those jokes, and I mean it is taboo to say that I am a feminist, but I'm you know. I'm not what people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not that stereotype.
Yeah, I think that's a big generalization too. I think a lot of people are like that too. So so for me, for instance, I made a joke. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere, and I was like, "I'm the biggest feminist you know because I live off my wife because my wife's very successful." And it's because, but in all seriousness, though, I'm the fact that I'll be. Anyone asks me, I'll be more than transparent. My wife is far more intelligent than me, makes far more money than I do. But she's deserving of it because she's worked very hard and she's very good at what she does.
Yeah.
And by all means, please.
Right.
And so, but it's awesome though for her to do that, and I'm happy for her. But it seems like a lot of I feel like that line is starting to kind of blur a little bit, at least from my point of view. Obviously, from my point of view as someone as a man, it's kind of hard to say, obviously, and it's always going to be a little bit more biased, but it seems like the line has blurred a little bit more so in the past couple of years than it was, but the title of it, being a feminist, has been kind of eroded, it's almost like people have really kind of like made it like a derogatory term, like someone has I guess when I view it as someone who's basically, when I think of a feminist, as someone who's a feminist, is pretty much someone who just is
anti-man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's nail on the head.
Exactly.
Perfect. And
because there's people out there that just take it to these radical levels.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's
everything.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's not just feminism.
And
it's everything.
The vocal minority is what always dominates. And so, for me, someone who's feminist is always going to be someone who, it's such a weird way of putting it, but it's just someone who just demands the same amount of equality as a man, not necessarily more, but not less. So same respect.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I always said, especially at that one company.
Place.
That shall not be named.
The redacted place.
I just want a chance.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's what it comes down to. I just want a chance, and let me show you what I have.
Yeah, judge me off my skills, not my gender.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Because and that's so.
But they were so stuck on the gender they couldn't even get off of it. Didn't matter how good she was at piloting. They only cared that
and that's such
women shouldn't be piloting command.
Yeah, and that's such a weird thing because in now in this day and age, if you do something like that, and people can get wind of it.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna get just burned to the ground.
And
they have
lawsuits.
They have made a change.
Yeah,
you can get lawsuits. I mean, cancel culture would be all over you now. If only that would have happened in 2020 or 2021, they would have been canceled.
Yeah, they have made changes. And like I said, the last two companies have been
far better.
Far better, and it's just not even. And now that I think about it, we have a woman that is a fixed-wing pilot, and she started about a year ago, or just over a year ago, and I mean, I was already there, so I kind of made sure that she was accepted and she transitioned well into the environment, but honestly, it was really more logistics and housing more than making sure that the crew accepted it. Because the men that I work for are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they're either they don't care or they're cheerleaders. You know what I mean? They could give two shits, or they're like, hell yeah, girl.
Yeah, you don't have the
very supportive.
You don't have the haters that you used to have.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a next generation of crew chief and stuff like that?
Well, what's
change mentality
is there's this weird I feel like it's been my own generation, to be honest. I'm a Gen Xer. I feel like the older Gen Xers have been the worst for it, because I flew with Vietnam pilot veterans that all about it. They loved anybody that came through, and they were so supportive and just so happy that younger people were interested, male or female. So that would be boomers.
Yeah, it'd be boomers.
And the issues that I had were that kind of like the older Gen X, kind of maybe younger boomer. Yeah, like they were just holding tight to this belief, and it kind of, one company, it was kind of a culture, so a lot of younger people fed into it because that's easy to do.
Yeah. It's that fragile ego they all have, though.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely ego.
Yeah. It definitely is.
It's definitely ego because, like, sometimes like I and this may I don't want this to come across as insulting to him, but it's as a crew chiefs ever think like I wish I was a pilot or like something like that, or like do you ever think that maybe some of those guys were like, oh,
no, you know what?
Like grumble?
Crew chiefs and mechanics always had my back.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're the best.
My bad. My bad.
Not to brag.
You're on me then. I'm sorry.
Pilots.
It's the pilots.
It's the pilots.
Yeah.
Crew chiefs don't care.
And, when you think about the personality of a typical pilot.
Yeah. I was about to say, I've heard they have egos out of this world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially helicopter pilots.
Oh, yeah.
Way worse than airplane pilots.
Yeah.
Which seems counterintuitive, I think, when you think of like an airline pilot being like,
yeah, like all these people, I guess,
Yeah.
Crew chiefs. But to answer the question about the crew chiefs don't really care. They just care, how do you fly? Because you're the one that's going to
maintain,
make sure that we don't crash and die, with our help, of course, in the back. But like, we don't care what gender you are. We just care, can you fly? Because if you're a bad pilot, whether you're a man or a woman, we're all going to talk smack behind your back.
Yes,
I
definitely.
didn't know if it was one of those things where it was like, so I've heard like nurses can be upset with doctors because the nurses are not a doctor. And like, so the nurses will say, well, I could have been a doctor.
Oh,
or like, I didn't know if it was like a crew chief thing.
Crew chief's thinking, I should have been a pilot.
I could have been a pilot, but maybe I'm not a pilot, but I'm a crew chief.
I've known a few crew chiefs at the redacted company.
Sure. Yeah.
It was on logging operations where they were just like digging the trailer out of the mud on a rainy day, and the pilots drive by in their truck to go back to the hotel, just like whatever, and they just they waved at the crew chief as he's digging this trailer out. So the crew chief was just like,
the fuck is that about?
I'm going to be a pilot. And you know what he did? And then he ended up working with the same company as a pilot until he realized this place sucks, and he left.
Oh, well, that's like a success story then, I guess, kind of.
Yeah,
like, he was like, I could be better
but
than
he
this.
left and went and did better things with other companies.
Hey, good for that guy.
He was wicked smart.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
So smart.
Yeah. But
I know sometimes people can get like jealous, like at the position, like they think they could have done better if they had done this or something like that. I don't know. Sometimes I can see that. Like,
it's not really a jealousy. It's more of like why am I wasting my life being a back-ender enlisted, especially in the military, Why am I wasting my life being a back-ender getting treated like garbage when I can just go do
this?
That?
Yeah,
so
make more money.
A lot of people got out of the Marines that I knew that were crew chiefs and went into the Army Warrant Officer program and became pilots. And I remember that was the first. There were two instances at MEPS, because I was actually talking to my dad about this. He's like, did you ever regret joining the Marines? And I was like, you know what? There were two instances that I knew I messed up. And I was like, and it was before I even got to Parris Island boot camp and anyone was yelling at me. And the first one was, I was sitting there and, I was 19 and there was this kid younger than me, it looked like. And he was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm joining the Marines to go be a crew chief. And he's like, on helicopters? I was like, yeah, hopefully. Because he didn't know what you were doing when you joined.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you going to do? He's like, man, I'm going to go be a pilot in the Army. I was like, you don't look like a college graduate, because, in the Marines, you got to be a college graduate and a commissioned officer. He's like, oh, no, the Army's got this program called High School to Flight School where you just, go right out. And I was like, the Army's got to, wait a minute.
The fuck?
So you're going to be a warrant officer. You don't have to be a private or nothing. He's like, no. He's like, I was like, maybe I messed up. And then the second part was,
you don't have to say if you don't have to.
It's funny, but you might have to edit it out. I don't know how raunchy this is going to be. But we're all sitting there at MEPS. There's Marines, Air Force, Army, Navy, even a couple Coasties waiting to go. And this big, I'm talking like 6 foot, 6, black gunnery sergeant comes out. He was running MEPS. He comes out, and he had this old man preacher voice, like Southern Baptist preacher voice. He's like, are you, well, he called us a bad word, so I won't say that word.
You can say, dude.
Okay, he's like, ready to go to boot camp?
No, go ahead.
All right, edit that line out, all right? That's what he said, though. That's what he, you guys told me to say it.
I didn't say it.
You told me to say it.
Not.
You said say it.
It's his podcast.
Minute 50. Okay.
All right, delete that part.
I was thinking like asshole.
All right,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
I would say that. You know that. Okay, so we're gonna. All right, the cut is done. So I'm going to edit it. He's like, are you? Can I say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just use that.
Yeah.
So this is not the real. This is not the word he used, but I am using this word because he called it something much worse. So he's like, "Are you ready to go to boot camp?" And we're all like, "Yes, Gunnery Sergeant," you know. And he's like, "Well, there's going to be a moment where you guys are going to get there, and they call it the moment of truth, where you're going to pee in a cup, right?" And he's like, "And if any of you guys pop positive on that piss test, because you guys were smoking weed without telling us," he's like, "I'm going to drive down there to Parasol, I'm going to find you," and then he unzips his pants.
Oh, shit.
And he's like, "And I'm going to take out," you might have to take all this whole story out, but he's like,
I love that, dude.
and he didn't actually take it out, but he's like, "But I'm going to take out my big natural black piece of meat," and he's like, "And I'm going to fuck you in your ass with no Vaseline."
Damn.
And then he zips his pants up. Thank goodness he didn't take it out. But he zipped it up, and he's like, "Am I clear?" And we're all like, "Yes, good." I swear our jaws are on the floor like, did this guy just tell us that? And like he walked away, and this Air Force dude that was sitting down, and he was like, "I'm so glad I chose the Air Force."
Oh, shit, dude.
So that was 2 times before I even got on the bus to go to Parasol, and I was like, I had done fucked up, man.
That's like when, like, was that one
I could have been a
song?
pilot.
That's
Not
that
getting
one,
accused.
that one song starts playing in the back of your head, like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
Yeah, everything becomes a black and white world.
Oh, it's like you start like out of body experience, like,
Yeah.
oh
wow.
my god, what
But,
the fuck am I doing?
After that bunny trail, none of us are really like, we don't hate the pilots because we're jealous of them.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of crew chiefs that are like, "Man, you know what? I should be doing that instead." And a lot of them go out and do it, but they don't really hate the pilots for that. If anything, the ones that I knew picked their brains to find out what tips do you have for me to
move forward
to use when I go to this program.
That's cool. I'm about to say, like, I could see some guys being jealous or like having that animosity because, like, man, I should have fucking done it, something like that.
Yeah.
But at least it's cool that like there is this mutual respect where they see that and they're like,
the animosity in the military between crew chiefs and pilots isn't really a crew chief versus pilot thing. It's more of an enlisted versus officer thing, because as an enlisted crew chief, you do something wrong, you're gonna get grilled way harder than if a pilot did something silly. You know. And now if a pilot messed something big up, they're going to get in trouble. And I've seen that happen too. But the little things that they will grill an enlisted person on, if a pilot did the same thing, they'd be like, "Hey,
So, hey, don't
hey,
come on, man.
Yeah, because
don't do that again."
Officers have like that good old boys club, and it takes a lot to get an officer busted in rank or in trouble as opposed to an enlisted guy. Because an enlisted guy, they'll just be like, "Well, you're screwed, bro. I'm taking your rank. I'm taking everything."
Yeah.
But,
that sucks. So, and like, just to include you on the conversation a little bit.
Grape on top of the peanut butter.
I would not.
I'll just finish the
No?
peanut butter.
I
I
don't-
thought you done.
Maybe.
Oh, we're talking about the beer right now,
I can
folks.
see it blend, but
Yeah.
that's like I don't even know what kind of beer that.
Oh, would it be
is.
peanut butter and grape jelly though?
Because it's
It would?
PB&J, but it tastes more like
It
peanut
definitely.
butter.
The peanut butter definitely.
There's only a little bit. Let me
Go
try
ahead,
it,
give it
John.
a whirl. Give it a whirl. See how it
Just
tastes.
a splish splash.
Splish
I was
splash.
taking the bath. Dun, dun,
The
dun,
The only thing that I wanted to add on to
Yes.
what you were saying,
to piggyback on
to
what I'm saying?
piggyback,
Which part was it? The big black man?
animosity?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
well,
Just making sure. Yeah.
well, if you're curious,
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm good.
oh,
the
here we go.
the only I'm sorry, I keep banging
No, that's
my
good.
rings
Yeah,
on
the
everything,
skull.
clanking.
Clanking, yeah.
Those sugar skull rings.
Yeah, I wear biker rings. So anyway,
They're actually called sugar skulls.
that's a sugar skull.
Yeah.
The only animosity that I've seen with like crew chiefs or crew members is if they don't respect the pilot, because they know the machine, they know what it sounds like, they know what it should be doing, and if you have a dumbass in the cockpit, they know, and they don't have to see what that pilot is doing. They can feel it, they can hear it.
Yeah.
And that's the only time that I've seen animosity. Yep. And not to give all my secrets away, but like I said, the mechanics, the crew chiefs, the crew members almost always had my back, and they would tell me when other pilots were talking shit about me.
Nice.
And like you said, like
you've
that,
got your goals.
Whole ego thing.
Yes,
between
yeah,
pilots,
because they'll be sitting there and they forget that there's
multiple crew chiefs.
There's people plugged into the intercom system that can hear. Like, it's not just the two in the cockpit.
Well, also when there's those toxic males, they're like, well, the guys in back are dudes. Like, this is bro talk. No one's gonna narc on me.
Yeah, I think.
Contraire.
Au contraire.
Guy in the back's like.
Because and I mean, I think that's what kept me going at that one company for so long, was because they had my back.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wasn't fucking up. You know what I mean?
No, and then you validated it by going to the literal competition and becoming a pilot in command on your first 60 days? Yeah. Your first rotation.
Whipping everyone's ass the first 60 days.
Yeah. And I guess the only other thing to add was you were asking about change and stuff like that for women in the industry. I was recently promoted in my company, and I'm probably they have to do some checking.
Sure.
But I'm probably the first pilot in command of this airframe for the company. So as a female, yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. So it's always mind-boggling to me that it's 2021 and there's still glass ceilings for us.
Yeah.
You know, so we're still changing, but I think
there's still room.
There's still room. I think the culture is changing, and I think it's gotten so much better. I really do.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a generational thing where, like, some of the older blood
that's
been in that
crusty motherfuckers?
A little too much of that PB&J beer.
I haven't even tried it yet.
Yeah, crusty motherfuckers.
The crusty motherfuckers are aging out.
That is a problem.
I think that's across the board. Like, whether, I think it's kind of funny because I think there's that quandary of issues that are like everywhere, and it's like thing with like women being in there, and then like younger generation coming in. It's like there's so many, like, a tirade of issues, and I think that are like nothing against some of the older guys, because there's definitely some top notch guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's some of the guys that have kind of like burned it to the ground, and they just will not change their ways. They won't adapt. They won't update.
Yeah.
And they keep this mindset, and that holds so many people back.
Yeah.
Women, younger generation, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But women are obviously included, and they've been having to endure for a while. So, like, when you have that issue, it becomes more apparent. So I feel like, with some of that generation, kind of like you said, like late X, Gen X, and obviously that's not just limited to them, but you would like to think that as like that generation starts to finally retire out, move out, and other generations, other people move into positions of power, that mindset kind of dissipates.
Yeah. And we're still worldwide. Less than 6% of the pilots are female.
Less than 6%.
Yeah. And actually, the military has a better rate. I want to say they're like 10%.
They probably do.
Yeah.
I can't really comment on that.
Yeah.
6%.
Less than 6.
Less than 6. So it's not even. It's not even 6%.
No, it's like 5 something. Yeah.
5 points. Whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But still, I mean, honestly,
worldwide. Yeah.
Anything less than. I mean, I was thinking like 15 or 20.
Right.
So like less than, not even 10%. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Why do you think that is? Like, is there any like specific reason? Do you think this, like, I mean, obviously, like, so one thing that I've noticed is women are more willing to do jobs that were always considered as a male position. Like, for instance, I always say this one because a pharmacist, because my wife is a pharmacist, and like she's genius, like just genius. But like when you think of a pharmacist or a doctor, normally male is the thing that pops your head. But you see more like looking at her class and talking with her, there was actually a lot more female people that graduated that were female pharmacists and doctors than before. So it seems like that number was kind of balancing up as like, you know, as generations again.
Right.
Why do you think that more women are not do you think women are interested in becoming pilots, or is it just like, you know, one of those things they just don't think about? Or
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
It is really hard to say because I have such a
you're focused.
like a focused, So women reach out to me all the time. Internationally.
Sure.
I get questions. I used to be a little more involved in some of the women, female aviation groups that are out there. And, you know, I had a couple women from Mexico, you know, there's women in Africa that have reached out asking how to do this.
That's really cool.
So, there, you know, aviation-wide, there is, it's complicated.
Yeah.
To get the funding, because if you're not independently wealthy after the market crash in 2008, the loans that I got are no longer in existence. Yeah. So unless you're independently wealthy or have some sort of mechanism to pay for it, or you go the military route. Yeah. So the opportunities are, or the post 9/11 GI Bill, the opportunities are very limited. I think there's plenty. I don't know. I was a weirdo kid to begin with. Yeah. I was the only girl in kindergarten with a He-Man lunchbox, you know. So I've always been like a little bit out there, but I think there's plenty of girls, plenty of children that want to do it that just don't have the opportunity or the means to do it. And I don't think it has any. I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with a disinterest in the industry. I think it's just a means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and like off the top of my head, knowing of female pilots, there's been a couple. So I know there was one that was a FA-22 pilot, I think, a while back. I remember seeing, and this is all via Instagram as well, but one that I listened to a podcast, coincidentally, was, have you ever heard of Gun Bunny Actual?
I don't
She was a...
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. She was, I think, she did go the military route, and she had, like, she just had, like, a rough growing up life, but she had gone in, and I think she went the military route. I'm trying to think if she went... she was either an Apache or a Cobra. I always forget between the two.
Was she a Marine or Army?
She was an Army.
Then it was Apache.
That's what I was pretty sure it was Apache. I was pretty sure Apache, but I could not remember off the top of my head. But I remember,
all good.
And like, I remember she had also become a pilot, and like, you know, a lot of what you're saying is very, very much in the same line as what she had said and everything. But same thing, she had kind of lucked out on the way, I think, the path, but obviously it was the same thing you're dealing with, like pilots. And like one thing I think when like selection comes for pilots, if I remember correctly, was when they're selecting pilots, you don't get to choose if you're going to become like a support or attack, you know, whatever, scout, whatever. They were just handed out one at a time, and she just lucked out and become like, you know, obviously when everyone thinks of like a helicopter pilot, they're like, oh, I'd love to be in a badass Apache helicopter or something like that, and people were upset with her that her being in a female position, she was selected as an Apache pilot.
Well, that's always the issue.
Yeah,
and that's. You know, not to get into like a lot of the female issues, but a lot of women suffer from imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, or that they're faking it and they haven't made it on their own merit. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from the male perspective that we're handed something because we were a female, that we didn't actually earn it. So the nice thing about like pilot check rides, you have to meet a standard, and it's measurable. It's not some obscure, oh yeah, you're good. You know, it's are you within 50 feet? Are you within 5 knots? Are you within 10 degrees?
Yeah.
In this maneuver. It is very specific and it's measurable. So you have to check these boxes to make that thing. And Tim probably knows better, but I I thought for the military,
Spotlight.
for selection on the military side, like it went from, like if you were at the top of the class, you got what you wanted.
Yes.
And downward. So, like if you were at the top of the class and you wanted to be a Chinook pilot, you could, if there was a position available, you could go Chinook.
I don't know how it was for the pilots. From what I heard, though, is the better piloting you did in the initial pilot school, you got helicopters, because jets are easier to fly than helicopters. But I believe it also did probably go from top of the class. I know in the crew chief world, they told you had a pick, but you really didn't have a pick. The guys with no depth perception, automatically they were C-130s in the Marines. Automatically C-130s, because you got to be able to call in a helicopter to the ground. And you have no depth perception, you can't do that. So C-130s, they don't. The pilots just land on runways. And for helicopters, they were like, okay, this is how it is. It's whatever slots are available. So you got Hueys, 53s, V-22s, and 46s when I went through. You're not going to have slots for all four.
Right.
There's going to be like one of these, two of these, whatever. And that's when it came down to, okay, who had the top academic score and who had the top PT score, and they had the first choices. So I was first academic, and then the other guy was first PT, and we got the first choices. And all they had was 53s, a couple 22s, and 46s. And I heard nothing good about 53s. I heard zero about V-22s.
Oh, def.
And everything was, and all the V-22s were crashing. 53s, it was like, all they do is break all the time, and they're always leaking oil everywhere and everything. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'll do 46s. And also, my dad flew on 46s.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and my grandpa flew on 46s, so I was like, hey, 46s. I really wanted Hueys, but there was no Huey spots available. So I picked 46s, and I got it. Come to find out, it worked out perfectly. Yeah. But
46s are superior.
They're very superior. I mean, not for longevity of Marine Corps career.
Well, no.
Come to find out.
Oops.
Oh shit.
Oops.
Whoopsies.
We invested too much money and lives in the 22.
But the 46s, it's because I was 46 that I even knew contracting was a thing. I didn't know contracting was a thing. I knew private security guys were over there. Sure. I knew nothing about crew chiefs and mechanics working on helicopters until buddies got out. I shouldn't really call them buddies, they were acquaintances. They got out when I was still kind of new, and they came back as these contractors for the State Department flying the 46, and they're like, oh yeah, there's like you make like 175 before taxes, and I was like,
oh shit!
Doing my job. So that, really? Yeah. Oh really? So that's why when it came out, So that's why when it came out, re-enlist and go 22s or get out, I was like, I'm out. Like I'm gonna go get my A&P license, and I'm gonna go contract.
Why not? I mean, and that's funny too, because even when we did our podcast a while back, I'm gonna have to look up what episode that was, because was it like
13 maybe?
Yeah, it's one of the earlier episodes.
It's been a while ago.
Lucky 13.
13's always been my number.
That's an evil number though. Evil number.
It might have been earlier or later. It was a while ago though.
It was about that time, though.
It was summertime of last year, or August, September time of last year.
Yeah, because we've been talking since October, I think.
Yeah, it'd be wild if it was 15, just to be in the habit, just off the top of my head. But still.
Because this is 30, right?
Yep, this is 30.
Oh, if that was halfway, that would be wild,
crazy, wouldn't it?
Well, you'd have to bring me back for 45.
I know. 45, dude. But yeah, it's just incredible, just the huge pay difference. But when we did all that, just for some reason, 12? Mm-hmm. Damn it. So close.
Ted,
I thought it was 13.
Ted/Tim.
Ted/Tim. Yes. Perfect.
That was hilarious.
That was so funny. Because I had never done a podcast before at all, so I was a little bit nervous. Mm-hmm. But, obviously we talked a little bit before the podcast, so I was all broken. I was like, okay, this is cool. We're vibing. We got the chemistry. We're going to be funny. It's going to be awesome.
And then he forgot your name.
And then he's like, so I'm sitting here with Ted, and I was
I didn't forget his name. I swear to God, I didn't forget.
It just rolled out, Ted.
Yeah, and for some reason, it was just 3-letter name, begins with T.
Ted.
And I was for some reason, Ted. And that was the first that rolled out. And at the time, I think when we did it, I was, first of all, if you could see my face, I was bloodshot, red, embarrassed. And I was like,
No, I just roll with it.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah,
Tim
whatever.
doesn't
And so like you started laughing, and we just rolled on, and he was and like I was like, you know what? I think it's so funny. I was like, I'm not even gonna cut it out. I'm just gonna leave it in there.
Yep.
And like it's just and so like I've had people message me. I was like, oh, I love the Tim/Ted podcast, and I was like,
The Tim TED Talk.
Yeah.
And I think you even were like, so anyways, I'm with Tim, and then I was like, nah, Ted.
Yeah.
I corrected you and said Ted.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you're like, damn it, dude, come on.
My brain is like starting to think, hold on, is it fucking Tim or is it Ted, dude?
I don't even know. I really don't care. You could have said shithead, and I've been like, what?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Okay.
It's Vaseline or something.
Shithied.
But it's just I guess the whole thing I was going to say was it's just incredible that there is that excellent opportunity post-military career.
Yeah.
And really, most people, when they think of contracting, what's the first thing that pops in their head? Like for me, Blackwater, like like your typical stuff.
13 hours.
Yeah, and
stuff like that.
Stuff like that will pop in your head. But I don't think people think about the other tasks that are needed to do piloting and stuff.
Yeah.
That is so essential, and pilots are already in extreme high demand.
Yeah.
And then you also need the crew chiefs to run the said rigs.
Hell yeah.
So,
and the guns.
Yeah, the guns. dude. Yeah, go ahead, do it.
Pilot.
Henry Cavill. Or Cavill, or however it was.
I'm gonna.
So
Henry Cavill
Yeah,
reloading.
Cavill reloading.
shout out to the Zack Snyder, the Zack Snyder redo of Justice League. It's fucking fantastic.
Snyder Cat.
Such a better movie.
And getting on that, what you were saying, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But when you were saying the women, like, do women not want to get in to it or whatever?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with they don't know. Maybe they don't know how to. I know some guys don't know how to.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I mean, you've been reached out. Hey, how do I even do it?
Yes.
I mean, guys have reached out to me. Hey, how do I even do what you're doing? And that's why I'd be like, you need this MOS in the military with this many hours. You need this license and yada yada yada, and network the whole time. Don't be a dick. Like make friends and connections.
Essential right there.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Because when someone looked
I
at
think
mine,
a lot of people have that ego they don't want to let go of, and they just feel like they're the head honcho, or they they don't want to have like, what's the word for it? Like they just don't want to be wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so like they just can't admit they're wrong, and like networking I think rolls around with that. Like I know better than this guy.
But like if someone looked at my profile with no aviation experience, they wouldn't know how to get. Hey, how do I be a door gunner?
Yeah.
They wouldn't know how to do that. Especially when it's not like I'm not showing unit patches with the Army and this, that, and the other. Like, this is my MOS number. Like, I don't have any of that. So if they looked at me, they'd be like, hey, how does this guy do what he does? Same thing if a woman were to look at your profile, they wouldn't know, I'll just Google how to do what Courtney's doing.
Right,
They'd have to ask. So if there's no one there to, like, tell them. And some people are dicks and just like,
yeah.
I don't answer questions.
I was going to say, so like on top of that, though, is there's not really a guidance. So like even when I was going through high school, college even, even at a big university, the guidance level was awful. There was no guidance.
I didn't have any.
Same thing with high school. There was like now, like looking at my brother's guidance level of like career path and stuff. It's insanely different. And he just graduated high school, and I graduated in 2010. So the difference between that amount of time is insanely different. Support is different.
Yeah, I mean, well, I went to public school in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it was a huge. I think my graduating class was 1,100 senior class.
Yeah, it's about the same as mine.
Yeah, we graduation was held in the old Charlotte Coliseum.
So like I grew. Without giving too much away, I don't care. I grew up in North Augusta, graduated there. Same thing.
Yeah.
Huge public school.
Yeah.
And then everyone graduated in Aiken, which is the closest Coliseum, probably the cheapest Coliseum.
Yeah, right?
There you go.
And it was fucking packed.
Right, yes. Wow. Yeah. So I didn't have any guidance. Like, I never met with a guidance counselor. Yeah. I never had any discussions.
You had no mentorship or nothing?
No mentorship. Right. And, years later, so I played volleyball in junior high, and we were state champions. But come to find out, Embry-Riddle University offered, around the time that I was graduating, full ride scholarships for women that played volleyball.
Ah.
So
But no one told you about that.
But nobody told me about it. I found out years later about this. And
I played volleyball.
And I played volleyball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to the coaches and then, like, the staff at that school to tell you and, like, offer these things to you.
Right. I mean, So I could have had, potentially a full ride to Embry-Riddle, the aeronautical university. I don't know that there's any, there's other schools that offer aeronautical degrees, but Embry-Riddle's, the aeronautical university. And I could have had a full ride, and I wanted to go there when I was graduating in high school, but didn't have the money for it. And come to find out, with the guidance,
Isn't that fucking crazy? Like, it just blows my mind. Like, I always wonder, like, looking back, because there is a difference between now and there was before, even like when I graduated and when you graduated. But I almost wonder if sometimes it's, again, maybe I'm just like spiteful, but maybe it's just like jealousy of people who are in like these educations that, you know, instead of helping better students that are coming up and finding career paths, they're just like, we didn't really even have a guidance counselor in high school. Like, there was nobody there. Like, they were like, okay, you know, check, okay, just make sure you graduate. That was like the extent.
I seem to remember, I don't even know where the conversation went. I had one meeting, and she recommended that I go to UNCA. And I don't even remember why she recommended UNC of Asheville.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it was just like...
Just out of the blue.
Just, you know, she's like, you should apply for UNCA. And
like, what? Like, okay, I guess.
I had no idea what, like, other
She's
than...
just like going down the list of, like, 1, 2, 3,
you should go to UNCA.
Let me tell you my so when I graduated, again, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Funny enough, no shit, there were 2 career paths that I thought were so cool. Because one, growing up, I loved aircrafts. I loved, more specifically airplanes and more than helicopters, but I had a huge fascination with airplanes. I'd always, deep down in my heart, I always wanted to be a pilot or a marine biologist. Yes. Such a coin flip between the two.
No, I dig
but
it.
I always... Wow, didn't even want to be a crew chief.
Wow. There was something about it, and my favorite aircraft growing up was always F-14 Tomcat, and it wasn't because of Top Gun. It wasn't because of Top Gun. Like aesthetics, just like to me was such a cool thing. Like I loved the way it was designed. And like I liked how the wheel, the wings would actually retract back in and go depending on what you're doing. And like to me, there's just such interest.
It was a cool
This was before you knew about A-18s, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah. So listen, I don't care. And I'll be honest, I was so savvy. I went to air shows all the time. Yeah. And like when I remember seeing my first F-117 Nighthawk. It was just like mind blowing. Like, it was just like, and I was still young. And then the biggest like thing was like being in a vehicle and going to the air show with my uncle. And he was like, "Oh man, there's just badass new aircraft. They've just kind of like started release documents on." And it wasn't even an FA. It was a YF-22, YFA-22. And like I remember seeing pictures of it, and I just started drooling. Like, it was like that is so fucking cool. Like, and I was just mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened and what dissipated for me becoming a pilot, but I think that the mindset of like I have to go to college. So the reason why I hold that backstory is like you saying like you just were told like, hey, you should go to UNC Asheville. Yeah. I at the time looking at different colleges, I went with a friend to a local college that was kind of close down the road. And you were just on tour to view it as a senior in high school. And I remember getting there, and they were asking, like, what's your prospective major? And I had no idea. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just with him. And he was I think, political science or a history major at the time. So I was like, hey, I'm just with him. And he's like, okay, so history? I was like, sure, whatever. Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, when I get to college, somehow my major became automatically history. And it was only because of going on that one tour trip as a senior just to view the college. I never chose a major. Right. I just went along with as a tour trip just to view it. And that was the college I went to, which I hated, by the way. So fuck USCA. I don't care. Fuck USCA. I hate the fucking college. It's biggest waste of fucking time.
What's USA stand for? I'm sorry.
University of South Carolina, Aiken. So it's like a sister college, and I did end up transferring, going and graduating from Columbia, which is the big campus there. And it was like one of those things. It was like, oh my, wasted so much of my fucking time. I could have learned more. And the guidance there was much better. Yeah. I remember my freshman year, I was shoved into high level, like as a freshman, like 300, 400, 500 level classes because the guy who was my guidance counselor was a teacher for all those classes, and he was shoving me in these classes so he could fill classes.
Wow.
And I did.
What a dick.
And I had like huge, like, eye-opening moment taking some of those. I like the first semester, I just went through it, no problem, aced it, and then I get put in these high-level senior classes, like where the requirements are just so much higher. So I would think I did well, and like, to the professor getting a C for me was good. Like, oh, you did a great job, much improvement. I get my paper back, and it's like a C, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's like an eye-opening moment. It was like, no, I like, like my levels, like, you tell me I'm doing much better, and I'm thinking I'm doing much better, and like I get back, and it's a C. Like, C in my mind was never good. Yeah. C's do to get degrees, though. But, so that was an eye-opening moment, and I realized at that time, like, there's no guidance. Like, I have no idea what I want to do. And so I kind of just, it was kind of funny, and it sounds bad, but I just kind of like got through college without trying and not knowing what the fuck I wanted to do.
Right. Yep.
So it was just like one of those things that I never had like a passion. So it's always cool when there is like, so it's like, for instance, I don't know why I'm just rambling at this point, but like seeing my brother and seeing like the next generation, the younger generations, having that guidance in high school, telling them like what pathway they need to go to is just so monumental. Right. And that goes towards men, women, female, kids, anyone, if they have like the interest and someone's able to spark that interest and push them in the right direction, whether it be someone messaging on Instagram, like that to me is monumental. Yeah. Like that wasn't there, long years ago, or wasn't as like, built up, but I couldn't imagine. I mean, like, that's the cool thing about the internet, like, of all the shitty things that comes from it, the resources you get from it now. Like, if you want to do this, or if you're interested in this, or you see someone on Instagram who's just a cool person, like being a female helicopter pilot, crew chief, whatever, and you're like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. I would love to do that. The resources are there for you to reach out and figure out the pathway to find that.
And there's a lot of people that are toxic about it, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, how many times people have like reached out to me, and I'm not saying that I'm some big wig with like hundreds of thousands of followers or nothing like that. But okay. But like, excuse me. Yeah, people will be like, I know you probably get this a lot, but what do you do and how did you get it? And I'll tell them, because when I was getting out, I reached out to people that I knew contracted, and a lot of them blew me off. They're like, oh, it's you wouldn't like it.
You'll figure it
out. It's like, or like, no one helped me. Why don't, you got to find your own way. And it's like, okay, so no one helped you, so screw everyone else behind you, huh? Like,
there is a lot
especially when it's like some of these guys I actually knew. I wouldn't say they're friends, but they're acquaintances. I was like, okay, so you know who I am. You know I qualify for this, but you won't give me any tips, like anything at all. You're just going to be like, you got to find your own way.
It's the power.
Yeah. So, I tell everyone exactly what you need. And honestly, the big catch for my particular job is you got to have an opening. Yeah. And people just don't quit my job. And if no one quits, there's no opening. Especially
if it's good and the paying's well and like, there's no reason.
So if no one quits, there's no position. So I lay out everything you need. I answer every single DM and tell everyone, hey, this is what it takes. And then the kicker is there's got to be an opening. And that's the hardest one to get. You can get all these other things. If you're already in the military, in that MOS, and you're already accruing hours, all you need is an opening. But then I always list, there's all these other companies that you can get in to get your foot in the door to make money while you wait for an opening and accrue time in Afghanistan and contract experience. And like, because contracting all comes down to, is the pay worth the bullshit you got to deal with? Most of the times the answer is yes. Sometimes, as in certain cases, it's no.
Not.
And you got to jump ship.
That's crazy too, because especially, and I would imagine that contracting itself is extremely competitive. Like not as just as an employee trying to find an employer, but just as these big companies. It has to be competitive.
You got to have a solid resume, and you got to know people. Yeah. Because if people from the military, they might not have known you that work at that job, but if they see what squadron you were at, and they know people there, they will ask those people, hey, what do you know about Tim
Such and
Crayons, let's say.
Yeah.
And if they come back and they're like, whoa, dude, Tim's garbage.
Kind of weird,
he's
dude.
A dick. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And they name that off. Then guess what? My resume
Excellent.
goes right into the shredder. But if they reach out and they're like, oh yeah, he's a hard worker. He's good. You know, you want that guy.
Top notch.
Then next thing you know, you go on the top of the stack. You know, that's how it
Yeah.
goes. If you know people there, well, you better have been a good person, because
Right.
people are going to know you and be like, oh no, you don't want to hire that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is all networking, like, and I don't think people realize that, because it is in the military. You know, like, I'm a crew chief. You know,
Yeah.
You know, fuck those guys. So, you know, I don't gotta take that shit. Fuck him. This is my bird. You know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And same with the pilots. You know,
Yeah.
people are dickheads, and then next thing you know,
Comes
you
back
try
to bite them.
Yep, comes back to bite you in the ass.
Do you think that the path for like contracting itself is easier on the military front
Yeah.
as it is for civilian?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get the foot in the door and stuff.
Well,
like
yeah.
that?
So as a civilian, I didn't have a security clearance
Yeah.
to begin with, so I had to go through that process, the vetting process to get a security clearance. So that takes time and money, and a lot of these companies, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So, you know, they don't want to pay for a new one.
Why would you
Right.
do that when you can get someone from the military who's
Exactly.
already got it?
So you just
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
especially for a contractor, or a civilian, it's just right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And I kind of really had to force my foot in the door
Yep.
to get it, but I was persistent and
No,
got
good
it.
on you. Because I'll say one thing as a guy from the talking to other guys in hiring position places, it's very hard for a woman to get in as a pilot or a crew chief, because it's not hard to find billeting for women,
I know.
but people don't want to go through the ordeal
hoops.
to get them billeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes
They act like it's a
they
huge
act
deal.
like it's
not.
my goodness,
Yeah.
we got to get them their own bathroom
Even-
and their own rooms, and it's like,
Oh,
it's really not that hard,
gotcha,
because
gotcha.
everywhere that you live,
Every
there's
mil-
going to be military,
Yeah, yeah.
Military
and the
and
military
females.
always
Standard.
has a female latrine
Yeah.
and female housing, and the
Yeah.
housing normally, like, girls will sometimes live in the same hallway. You just might have to like walk to the next building to use the bathroom, because this bathroom's male, or sometimes men have to
Right,
walk to the
yeah.
other one.
Yeah.
But the main thing is they automatically chalk it up to, oh, a female is going to bring drama. So therefore,
yeah.
we don't want drama, because what if she this with someone and there's
Yeah.
drama? What if
Yeah.
this, and I'm
Creates
not saying that
stirs.
women do that, but that is what a lot of these old timers
Mindset, yeah.
mindset is, like, it's a lot easier if we just keep it all male.
But who?
So-
Yeah, but who's really creating that
But
drama?
who's really creating the drama? The dudes that
So-
hit on the women when
Yeah.
the women get hired and, they creep
there's
on you.
so
Yeah.
much more. There's so
Yeah,
much more
the
creep.
toxic
They're
dudes.
creepier and they
Yep.
gossip more.
And they do, because
so
you
I
know
was gonna
what?
say that. I was gonna say. So someone said that to me before. I can't remember when it was, and it was like, it was like, I can't remember. The phrase was like, "Do you like, dude? It's pretty good beer." Isn't it?
Pretty good beer.
And it was like more or less like the hen house conversation of like
Yeah.
gossiping, and then
Yeah.
someone had said, he's like, I don't know why everyone says that, because men gossip more than women.
So much more.
And I kind of I legitimately
more.
thought about it, and I was like,
Probably
I
equal.
was about to say, I don't know, man. I think men might, I think
Yeah.
it's
It-
always
well,
it's always
depends.
chalked
It's
up
hard
as
to
gym
s-
talk.
It's hard
Yeah.
to talk about in our world, because in our
I'm the
world,
only woman.
there's mostly men. So yes, there is
True,
more
true,
men.
true. I mean, but just in general though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just
Yeah.
funny, I
I
hear
guess
that.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I'm the only woman, so if
Yeah.
I'm not gossiping.
Then therefore the men are gossiping more. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's
yeah.
rough.
But they do create a lot of drama.
Well, yeah, because
It's different.
if you're one woman in a group of 10 guys, granted, at least 2 to 3 of them are going to try to hit on you to sleep with you.
Do you see that a lot? Like, is that an issue whenever you're doing anything kind of contracting? or anything like that?
I've had some experiences.
Yeah.
with
You don't have to go
that.
into detail, but
Yeah, I had that company was just a shit show to begin with, so we'll just disregard
We'll
all
disregard
of that.
Yeah.
The
Don't
current
judge all the
current
contracting off of that
yeah,
company.
yeah. The current company I work for, I have not experienced it at
Nope.
all. And
That's
I had the previous company, I had one
Issue.
one creepy guy, and
Yeah.
I mean we had a tent that was broken down into I think 6 rooms, something like that. And it doesn't matter, honestly, because I've worked on huge airfields in Afghanistan, and I've worked in like tiny little bases in Africa, and where I'm at in the Philippines. And it doesn't really matter, like the actual setting, or the environment, or the shared billeting, or anything like that. It just depends. Every once in a while, there's a creepy guy.
I think that's everywhere too.
Yeah.
I just like, it's funny too, because it's like, I don't want to say it's like the last person you expect, but there's just always, it's just like ratio-wise, percentage-wise.
Because it's not just the people that are going to be creepy. Like I was saying before, I was like, if there's 1 woman and 10 guys,
there's just bound to be.
3 are going to want to. 3 are going to not shoot their shot because they know they don't have a chance, so they're going to talk shit.
That's just men in general, too.
Yeah. And then
gossiping.
And then 3. Yeah. And then, what was the other one? 3 are going to try. 3 are going to not. 3 are going to just spread rumors about the other 6 with the one. And then 1 might think you're cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to, I mean, because men are just weird, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Men are weird because it's like, the ones that are like...
It's like the forbidden fruit when you're somewhere, and then it's like you're being in a distant
And most
place.
of them are all married.
Yeah. And then
most of them are all married.
They are all married.
Would you say that the married men are more like the worst ones?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've found it to be
true,
too.
It's that deployment mentality.
Yeah. Like my wife won't know, won't hurt her.
Yeah.
It's not cheating if it's...
No, isn't that fucking weird?
It's not cheating if it's deployed. Yeah.
So gross.
It's pretty nasty. And that goes both ways over there. I mean, because married chicks in the military that deploy, they're the same way
and
too.
To be fair, there are some women out there that don't care.
Yeah. So it's really just like a human problem, I think.
Yeah.
But
we're not quite just stormtrooper level. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Like clones.
No, what's the not stormtrooper? What's the name of that movie? Star Troopers.
Star Troopers.
Oh yeah.
Star Troopers.
Against the bugs. Yeah, against the bugs.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers.
What's like one of the quotes from that movie? Fuck, man. There's like one famous quote. It's like, let's see if I can look it up.
Okay, I was just thinking of like the co-ed showers.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the full integration.
It's a chick slapping a guy's ass.
Yeah. We're definitely not at that level.
No,
that's a weird movie too. Like I remember,
such a weird movie.
Probably will not be for a long time. Too,
yeah,
because
right.
I'm not going to read any of these quotes.
Crazy world. Yeah, those quotes.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Do they have words in them that Tim used earlier?
Not
Max
quite.
told me to use it.
Hey, listen. I was
he's gonna cut it out.
Something toned down, dude. I was like, shithead, like something like that. Like, you.
Hey, I gave you a lot of warning. I was like, I don't think I should use it. No, it's a pretty bad word. I don't think use it. I don't think I should use it. Okay, fine. No. Boom.
Peer pressure is a motherfucker.
Hey.
So it's funny because I was like, when
you're gonna cut it out though, for real, right?
No.
All right, good.
So like when you were saying that, I was like, why is he second guessing? Why is he hesitating? Like I've said much worse shit on here.
Yeah, right.
And then
because
that's
like, he really called you that.
Yeah. I was like,
well, then well, look at what he followed it up with. Yeah. So, are you really surprised?
No. Too funny, but that's still incredible and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, the whole thing just threw me for a fucking loop, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. But that doesn't surprise me though. But I guess that's better. So like so you do a lot of contracting stuff. So I guess the one question I had was, so you get out, you go to piloting school, and like we've had such a huge diversion from since we discussed you going to piloting school.
Oh, right.
So what did you do anything before contracting, or did you go straight to contracting?
Yeah, so the civilian route for a pilot is essentially you come out of flight school with about 200 hours, and you should have 5 ratings: your private license, your instrument rating, commercial license, certified flight instructor, and certified flight instructor for instruments.
That's a lot.
It is.
That's a shit ton. Like I was like, I got lost. Like after I heard like instruments, and I was like.
So basically, you come out ready to be a flight instructor, and a flight instructor that can also teach instrument flight. So, but that's all you're really qualified for when you come out of a civilian flight school. There is maybe 1 or 2 jobs throughout the season, throughout the year, that you might be able to get, like drying cherries or something like that, but they're very competitive. You usually have to know the person that owns the farm, that sort of thing. So almost, I would say 99% of us go into flight instruction. And the goal with flight instruction is to get to 1,000 hours. And that's kind of, it's 1,000 or it's 1,500. It's all dependent on insurance.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So insurance companies kind of determine what they want. And so after flight instruction, you can kind of move on. Usually the normal track from flight instruction is either tours. I went to flight school in Arizona, so it was typically tours in the Grand Canyon, or flying like the Gulf of Mexico, flying guys out to the oil rigs. So I kind of did something a little different. I was a flight instructor. I kind of bounced around. It was 2008, so it was during the recession. So it was struggling. It took a little longer. Yeah. People didn't have money. It was just slow. Yeah. So I was a flight instructor, and then I was picked up by a school / company, I guess we'll say, in Dallas. And I was a flight instructor, and I flew for their contracts on the news in Dallas.
That's pretty cool, though. For Dallas, like a big city.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dallas is like the number, at the time, it was like the 5th largest market for the news. Oh, wow. So the helicopter pilots didn't do like traffic. They used Cessnas for the traffic report. So we were doing SWAT standoff.
That's kind of interesting, at least.
Yeah. Car chases.
Natural disasters.
Yeah. So I did the years that I was in Dallas. There was a huge fire in Possum Kingdom. We did like almost all summer covering that, and tornadoes.
Yeah.
So I
like
an idiot, I chased tornadoes.
Okay, so
in a helicopter.
That's pretty cool.
I just want to say, that sounds like the stupidest thing to do.
And the most
Let's see
awesome.
Here. I'm gonna fly an aircraft that relies on pushing, propulsion.
Yes.
And then let's go track down these fucking, air twists.
Well, I think I could give you a full weather lesson.
Let's hear it.
No. I'm a weather nerd, but weather just fascinates me. If I ever went and got like a bachelor's degree, it would probably be in weather, meteorologist.
I was
say it's a meteorologist. Yeah.
So, I don't know meteorologist, but just weather. I don't know.
I would totally stand in front of a green screen.
I want to study weather.
Oh, no.
Be completely in green, yeah.
So typically...
That'd be really cool.
So typically tornadoes form at the end of a tornado or thunderstorm cell.
Yeah.
So the back end. So what you have to do is get behind the storm. So you're away from the hail, and a lot of you're behind it. So the front of the storm is where the hail is, where the rain is, where the nasty shit is. And usually at the tail end of that cell is where tornadoes typically form. So you want to set up back there and far enough away from the cloud shelf to not get sucked in.
Yeah.
Because I made that mistake once.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Story time.
That kind of was the catalyst for me kind of studying storms and figuring out what the fuck I'm doing out here.
Was that like a big adrenaline rush when you do that? Is that why you enjoyed it?
Yeah. It's so much fun. And I for whatever reason, I like weather and I like studying it. So I find it super interesting. But, yeah, it's definitely an adrenaline rush, and it's definitely you have to be so aware of your surroundings because you're looking at this one tornado or this one storm cell and not paying attention because what the typical process of tornadoes coming through Dallas is a squall line. So you're only focused on this one part while shit is happening behind you. And if you're not paying attention, it'll bite you in the ass.
Like more tornadoes forming.
Yeah, more cells, more tornadoes, more hail coming, like all of it is coming up behind you. So you really have to be on your game. It's so much fun.
So I gotta ask,
terrifying.
Yeah, about the story about almost getting sucked into one.
So I didn't get sucked into the tornado.
Okay.
I got sucked into the updrafts.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I was in
So when that happens, like what?
You can't do shit.
What were you in, like a Robinson?
Oh,
Lord. No. Those things are like tiny little.
So
they're the ones that look like dragonflies, basically. Or like little toys.
So I was
cockpit, tail.
Yes. I was in an R44, and I got a little too close to the shelf cloud, and I got sucked into the updraft.
Did you have anyone with you?
Yeah, I carry a photojournalist.
So what was
she knew that this wasn't right, and she paused, and so we got sucked up. So we were in an uncontrolled ascent, which is better than an uncontrolled descent.
Yeah, I mean the ground is that way.
So I'm just controlling the rotor RPMs. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
And ride it out and try to maneuver us back out. And that's exactly what I did. And we only gained probably, I don't remember, maybe 1,000, 2,000 feet. So it wasn't a big deal, but we were, my photojournalist was focused on the tornado. And she's staring in her screen, right, and controlling the camera. Yeah. She's not really looking outside so she's super focused on the shot. And she's like, "You're losing the picture." I'm like, I'm like, shh. And then once she got her situational awareness, she stopped. She sat there and she waited till I maneuvered out and came back around and we regained the shot.
So she remained calm the whole time.
Oh yeah. She is a professional. She's probably been there, done that. My gosh, she's been nominated for daytime Emmys. She's she's top notch. She's top notch.
What's her at? What's her at?
She's my girl. Yeah.
So I guess when you're in that circumstance, I mean having a crew on or anyone on, they have to remain calm because if they are high stress, absolutely panicking, that only makes it worse for you as a pilot too. Oh yeah.
Well, that reminds me.
I guess it depends.
Of a time.
Oh yay! Here we go. This is gonna be good. I have a feeling it's gonna be really good.
This reminds me of a time over Afghanistan.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
When a ZPU round, a 14.5 millimeter anti-tank round.
Very specific.
Yes.
Ripped through the helicopter.
With the mail, right? And mail confetti went.
Mail confetti.
Oh, so literally
everywhere.
Mail confetti.
It was.
Yeah, so it came
boxes
through.
of mail in the back of the helicopter.
Oh shit!
It entered aft right, came through diagonal. There was a kicker, which is a 4x4x4.
Yeah, probably 4x4x4, like a pallet, basically, on a plastic pallet thingy,
a box full of mail. It went through that, came out the left side. Through the crew member's water bottle. Oh, when he had, 2 seconds earlier, his hand had been there, setting it down, and exited the aircraft. I don't know. It
missed all of the
shrapnel or something. I don't know why my voice is so squeaky.
It's just on the podcast. I didn't even notice.
Keep going.
Shrapnel. I think it was shrapnel coming off of the exit.
Yeah.
exit wound.
That hit the blades, right?
That hit the blades.
Oh, but the bullet itself missed everything crucial, because if that bullet would have hit anything else, like it probably would have been
yeah.
down.
So, but it had, if my crew member had, our crew member had not moved his hand 2 seconds earlier, he would have lost his hand.
Oh my
and
God.
He was in absolute shock. And we're trying to divert to the closest base, trying to coordinate with. So we were dash 2, of course.
Of course.
Because they're aiming at dash 1, but
Yes.
dash 2 flies into it.
They don't know how to lead
Yeah.
at all. And that's not even a joke. Like,
No,
they really,
it is. They
aim
were
at that
shooting at
and
one.
This one flies into it.
Yeah.
So we flew into. I think I was flying.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I was in it, but I think I was actually flying. I think I
Probably.
flew into it.
But that, I mean, you don't know when a...
No.
Yeah,
But like
it's not
I
like
think
you know that you're flying into it. It just, next thing you know, it's like, bonk.
So the other pilot, who was PIC, once we took, I thought the air stair door ripped off in flight. Like, it was so loud. The air stair door is, like, right behind me in that position.
And that's the stairs that come down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, it was so freaking loud. And so we're trying to limp back, essentially, to the nearest fob and figure out what happened, what was going on. But our crew member, who had almost died, was losing his shit.
Yeah, so
And would not love him to death.
He was not a former actual crew chief, was he?
No.
I didn't think so.
Love him to death, but sweetheart, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
No kidding.
like he, you know, but he was giving us crucial information at the same time too,
Right.
because he could smell fuel. It ended up being just a transfer line had been severed, so we weren't actually losing fuel. It had just been fuel in the transfer line.
You got to keep your cool, though, when anything like that happens.
Yeah,
Even if you
yeah.
were dumping fuel,
That's
you gotta keep your
when,
cool.
like,
The decisions are changing when you're
yes,
acting
and
like that.
Dash 1 came around and was trying to get a visual. We knew it came right to left. We didn't know where it had entered or exited. So I was most concerned with our landing gear, our wheels.
Yeah.
Had they taken out our wheels? And so one came around and did a visual. No, it looks good, man. You know, it looks good. So we roll it into the fob. But bless his heart, man. Like,
Just lost him.
just kept talking, you know. And I'm trying to keep everybody calm. PIC was flying, and I was just calling gauges.
Yeah.
You know, and just when I run out of patience, I sound like I have patience forever.
Yeah.
I get this school teacher voice, and I'm just like, okay.
You got this.
Gauges are green. Pressures are normal. Fuel is steady. We are 1 minute.
Meanwhile, you got
You know? And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. No kidding. What?
It's just something, I guess, like you just have to learn or have that experience going through. Or
I think it's just
A lot of
possessed in
that.
you.
A lot of that certain company, they would put people.
Jesus Christ.
Did the dog just burp?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Better a burp than a fart. Then.
Very
Yeah.
true.
This company would hire these people and call them cabin crew members, and the requirement was nothing. Like, as long as you could pass
Breathing,
a physical,
yeah.
you were good.
Shit.
Yeah.
So like they weren't former crew chiefs.
Yeah.
They weren't former
Anything.
military at all. Some of these guys were like,
Joe Schmo off the street.
yeah, Joe Schmo's off the street, like security guards at like parking garages.
Oh, God.
And
Like, nothing against those, but
Nothing
like,
against
you
those
have
guys.
no
Yeah, yeah.
experience
They don't know
in
what
this
to
kind
do.
of
Yeah.
situation.
yeah, and they hired them to fill a billet to just like, okay, can you push this pallet into the back? Can you load these bags? And that was it.
This guy was a hooker, though. He was a logger.
Oh, a hooker is a
No
okay.
kidding.
In logging, yeah. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, like,
I thought when you went like that, you said don't say it.
Oh, no.
Some of them were just loggers, like people that work chainsaws and hooks in the forestry industry. And then it's like, hey, congratulations.
Yeah. They're just not used to, especially being...
Yeah, and then it's like they get this job because that company did logging also. So it's like, they would offer these opportunities to the guys they already had on payroll. And they'd be like, do you want to go over here? Oh, for that money? I'll do it. Then they're over there. And next thing you know,
the first thing they see is a paycheck.
And they have no idea what they're getting into. And the company didn't tell them what they're getting into.
Do you see a lot of contracting groups that do that nowadays? Like they don't really tell people what they're getting into?
That was the only company I think that's ever done that.
Yeah.
It's a one-off. So I'm sure there's more, but that's the...
and with this most recent company that I work for, they gave me a pretty thorough brief as to what to expect.
You were getting into.
Yeah, and even though I knew someone that knew someone that worked there. You know what I mean? Like, I had a pretty good idea of the situation, but they did a really good job of explaining, and like the jobs that I worked in Africa, same thing. Like, I knew what to expect. I knew kind of the countries that I'd be entering and all of that.
So what all countries have you been to? Like, what all countries are you allowed to say?
Yeah. As far as contracting, Afghanistan, I've done some work like around the Middle East, not necessarily on a contract, but just in support of that contract. So Bahrain and Dubai, or UAE. Africa, Kenya, Somalia, Djibouti, Uganda.
Oh wow, man! You just
Niger.
It's been like 4 or 5, like a couple. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow, so you really
Philippines.
have.
Yeah, and the Philippines. Yeah.
What would you say has been the most your least favorite and your favorite between all those?
So okay.
Well,
they're like
highs and lows.
Highs and lows, but someone asked me like, "What's your least favorite country?"
Do you hate that fucking question? Or something?
No. It's so funny because I like almost every place that I've been.
Just the different experiences.
Yeah, and you know what? I've really found, and people blow me off because they're like, "Oh, you're a woman," and blah blah blah. They're going to be nice to you, And it's just like,
wouldn't some of those places be like extremely like?
Yeah.
Kind of like, like...
Yeah, it's just one of those... So, it's like... No, it's because I'm a nice and respectful person, and I typically attempt the language in the country that I'm at. My Swahili's not very good. My French is not very good, but... Damn it, I try. Or Ugandan. But...
That's cool, though. I mean,
But, and I'm like, no, I love every country I go to. And then I think about it, and I'm like... Fuck Djibouti.
So I mean, like, I would be
fuck Djibouti.
Fuck Djibouti.
It's so hot.
and it's only I've only been to the base there. I haven't actually been out.
Gotcha.
In the city, but fuck Djibouti.
It's hotter than J-Bad.
Oh gosh, it is so hot. It is just it's miserable.
Is that why it's like such a like you just don't like going to it just because the heat, like the
heat,
like
the people, the base.
Right?
The base is super like
trashy.
Maybe
no, it's super controlled. Yeah.
Because there's Marines there. They have to
keep
it
Navy.
It's
a Navy base.
There. Gotcha.
It's
they got to keep it under wraps,
So it's like really. Yeah.
It's just really like it's too close. The saying is, it's too close to the flagpole, then it's in a really weird, like, it's humid, but it's humid like J-Bad, but it's smoggy like Kabul.
And it's got the heat that makes Arizona look like
nothing,
like Alaska.
Yeah, it's
like the hottest place in South,
like
the hottest place in the West, combined with like humidity of like the
Southeast. Because it's right on the coast.
It goes to like 145.
Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
That's
145, obviously not Celsius. 145 Fahrenheit.
And
it's like
that's like hell.
Florida, like I don't know, the
Everglades,
like kind of like
swampy,
nasty. It's like
and
you step outside and the sun's not even risen, and you want to die.
Yeah, and it's very stagnant and polluted. So Djibouti, and then probably Somalia after
I
that.
wouldn't want to go to Somalia. Like if there's like one country, like like
you know what though, my fascination with Somalia.
I've watched movies that have helicopters in Somalia. They don't really.
I gotta tell you, the first time that I landed in Mogadishu.
You were in the Casa?
I was in the Casa.
In the Casa, that's a plane.
That's an airplane.
Did the dog just fart?
Yeah. You 100% did, dude.
It has not reached my sector of the table yet.
Literally. Like as soon as
aimed at you.
Oh, he totally did too.
I literally muted my mic and just blew my face just to kind of air my front area out. I will say, I have a huge just pure hatred for Somalia based on watching Black Hawk Down.
So that's what I was going to say. The first time flying in to Mogadishu, I was in the airplane, the Casa, and it looked just like the movie.
Just like the movie.
Just like the movie. I think I messaged you that.
Yeah, you did. You sent me the picture of it.
Yes.
You're like, just like the movie.
Because the runway juts out into the water. There's tires burning along the beach. There's sharks in the fucking water. There's boats out in the water. And I've flown over the arena that's in downtown there. I couldn't believe, you see these movies,
You're just waiting
right?
for RPG to come and take your ass out.
Dude, I don't know what it is. I watched that movie, I watched it,
I had good food there.
I was in middle school watching that, and this pure, unadulterated hatred. I was like,
yeah.
It's a weird.
It's like when you were kids watching 9/11.
Yeah,
and you're like, ooh, whoever did that. And then you find out who did it. It's like, ooh, I hate them too.
No shit.
Let's go occupy them for 20 years.
Wait, you're paying me? Okay. Yeah, it's like we're occupying them for 20 years? Okay. Wait, you want us to leave?
And I want to finish this question.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
We went off on a...
Okay. No, my favorite country is probably...
Oh, yeah, you got...
My favorite is Uganda.
Uganda?
I love it.
Is that where you went on safari?
Where did I go on safari?
Remember you were able to take the time off before coming home and go on safari when you were in Africa? Because you got to see the giraffes? How do I know more about your time than you do?
Out-of-body experience.
I saw the giraffes. I went to the park in Niger.
The park. Okay, not a safari.
That was
but
in
you went to the
Niger.
park. Okay, not
Gotcha.
Niger. Okay.
That's still pretty cool, though.
Yes.
I
Oh,
was about to say, I know you went somewhere with fucking giraffes.
Don't you lie to me!
You sent me the pictures.
But in
it's actually at a zoo,
in
like
Uganda,
in Charlotte.
Yeah, right?
Uganda is where I got to play with the chimpanzees.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest though, I was talking with friends, and we can all agree that chimpanzees are terrifying animals.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
they can rip your face off.
I was about to say, I don't think people realize how strong they are.
Yeah. So in Entebbe.
Still cool though. Sorry.
In Entebbe, they have a zoo, and they have a bunch of rescued chimpanzees. Usually, baby chimpanzees that they rescued when their parents have been killed for bushmeat.
Yeah, poaching and stuff like that.
Yeah, eating. And so the baby chimpanzees need to be socialized and kind of get their energy out before they're just
re-engaged.
Yeah. So you
like little sociopaths.
So I went to the zoo. I presented all of my shots, basically, TB test and all of that, because that's part of my life. Yeah, okay. That's part of my life that I have rabies vaccinations.
Yeah.
TB tests regularly, like all of it. So I qualified to come in early in the morning and play with the chimpanzees.
So pretty cool. That's a cool experience.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. The people in Entebbe and Uganda as a whole are just awesome people.
That's really cool.
And the Philippines, the people are awesome there as well.
I've heard good people about the Philippines too.
Yeah. It is a beautiful place. Uganda's a beautiful place too.
Very cool. So
nice.
I'm gonna say, it's like one of those places like you always hear about, but you don't really hear any experiences from it. I think whenever people think of like chimpanzees or gorillas or anything like that, they just think of like the Congo. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of rescue efforts, but there's also a lot of poaching there too. And then South Africa also has a lot of stuff from reserves and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. Is that like one of the most did you have pictures on your page or anything like that from going and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, cool. On Instagram. Yeah. There's a video of me playing with one of the chimps at least. And then I think there's I got to whitewater raft the Nile.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's
that was so fun. And then I didn't even think about it because I was at the end. I just got out and was swimming in the Nile.
I wouldn't do that.
Crocodiles?
Crocodiles. Didn't even think about
Never watched a Moses movie?
Obviously, you've never watched The Deadliest Catch. You know, was that one show with Jeremy Wade?
River Monsters?
Yeah.
I know.
Deadliest Catch is crabs.
Yeah, my bad.
I didn't.
One's for life, right?
Did not even think of. I don't even know if Nile crocs are in that part.
I think so.
Well,
but I did not.
They didn't want a piece of Courtney.
They saw these rings.
Oh shit!
They didn't want none. Maybe you gave them the old.
Cabell pump. Yeah.
Don't want none.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool though. Whitewater rafting in the Nile.
It was so fun.
Yeah. I mean, like literally, Pharaoh used to have like people push his raft down here.
Yeah.
And now I'm just whitewater rafting.
Well, yeah, this was the Uganda section that is the White Nile that leads into the Victorian River. I didn't spend too much time I haven't spent too much time in Egypt.
There's also a crazy fish. And it was off of like
river monsters.
The tigerfish, but that's more like I think it's more like in Somalia actually, coincidentally.
Oh really?
Yeah. And I think the crocodiles are more in the.
I thought they were in the north.
Yeah, they're in the north.
Yeah.
But when you think honestly, I know you were talking about Africa. You said Nile, and immediately I thought like Egypt.
Yeah.
It goes all the way down. Surprise! Surprise, shorty.
Insane.
Actually, the snails in the Victorian River are probably more deadly than.
So really? Escargots in the Victorian
River.
No,
like just like cut your foot
like
on a snail. Yeah. They carry some crazy like bacteria.
Bacteria
that kill
kid.
people.
How big are they?
Just littles.
Oh, just
little guys.
Little bastards.
Little babies.
Babies.
Little babies.
Well.
It was in Africa, not Australia, right?
Yeah.
I cannot do an Australian. So. And that was definitely not in Africa, and I don't know what voice that was.
Maybe like a little South African accent. Like,
maybe.
What is it Dutch you were in South Africa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The apartheid?
Yeah, the apartheid. Yeah, what was something with the Afrikaner? AFRIKANEER.
Afrikaans?
Yeah. Or is it with an A?
Afrikaans.
I know Afrikaans is the like half German, half African language.
Yeah.
From those colonies, because they had like Dutch, German.
They have a bunch of like different little
English. Yeah. Because I think South Africa. You said South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they primarily speak English there. I think, right?
Yeah.
They got so many tribal languages as well.
Oh yeah. I remember. So it's funny enough. I actually had one guy had done some contracting work, but not the kind of contracting. It was more like he had left the country to come over here and started a business in like cleaning facilities, contracting work.
Yeah.
But he was just saying like referencing how dangerous it had become living there and stuff like that. And he and his family got up and left a long time. I guess now it's been like 15 years, but like beforehand it was a lot more difficult to get up and go. And also depending on what your income was like, there's a lot of farmers were trying to escape and they couldn't really get out, but he was a little more wealthier, so he came over. But it's interesting. A little ramble off of South Africa.
Yeah.
I heard you can get Toyota pickups pretty cheap down in that part of the world, though.
I want a Hilux.
I want a Hilux. I also want one of those 4Runner pickups, the Type 70s or whatever they are. Yeah.
I'll kind of start wrapping it up, but I will say, isn't it funny that we're like one of the most stringent people about when it comes to like vehicles and all this stuff, but everyone else in the fucking world has these damn Hiluxes like all over, like Europe, Africa. Asia.
I've seen those bitches take a mortar. Literally straight.
And still drive.
Straight to the face.
Straight to the face.
Yeah, and they still drive.
All over my face. It's just wild how we can't get. It's such a pain in the ass because you have to do all these conversions to make it where it's like EPA regulation.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They're all diesel.
Yep.
And they have none of those EPA
Restriction
stuff.
They have no airbags.
And when you look at the cities over there and you realize,
But even like
you can catch cancer by breathing.
I mean, like even like in Europe, you can get one though. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
You can get some of the Hiluxes, yeah.
Gosh.
You can get them all over South America too.
And Australia and stuff like that.
Just drive it up.
Even like the Ford like Ranger was like updated in Australia before it was here.
Yeah.
And they had been making them over there, even though it was like subcontract. They weren't making them here. It's wild.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, all those police forces and Afghan National Army, they've all got these little Rangers too, and they all says Ford on them, but they're not Ford Rangers. They're like Ford Rangers. They're like Ford Rangers with the same symbols and everything, but they don't look like Ford Rangers. They're made somewhere else.
There's like an I in there, like a
Yeah,
fjord.
like
Fjord Ranger.
Yeah, fjord. Oh, Norwegian.
Accent
Okay.
Fjord.
Yeah. Fjord.
Fjord. Yeah.
Ranger.
Wild. Well.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Well, we've probably taken up quite a chunk of time, haven't we?
Yeah, we're at 2 hours now.
Rambling. Just make sure you edit that out.
Yeah. So I will leave you with this. If you had any advice for anyone who was, whether it be male or female, who was interested in getting into the civilian portion, what's some good advice you could give to them?
Well, reach out to people doing the job that you want.
Yeah.
Just ask questions. I answer questions all the time. People message me, there's so many of us that are so willing and genuinely wanting to help people like find their path and just ask questions and we'll help you. That's really what it comes down to. There's also quite a few aviation organizations that I recommend joining because there's, annual conferences that are great for networking and all of that, and just social media.
Absolutely.
As well.
Now, do you ever have any issues with people like having to keep a clean social media profile? Like I think that was like one thing that was like hammered growing up.
Yeah,
was like, you better be careful what you put on there. I
want to be posting pictures of smoking weed.
Yeah, I mean,
that's FAA.
Like obvious shit. Right?
That's FAA shit.
Yeah,
but obviously, yeah,
I
can't. I don't do drugs. That sort of thing.
Blah, blah,
yeah. But as far as our social media, like we're conscious of what we post and conscious of OPSEC.
Yeah.
So
anything really serious, I normally post, and it's always months later.
Yeah, I never
post the day of.
I never
even
post.
the day after.
I never post anything where I am, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'll take a picture, and then days later, when I'm somewhere else.
Yeah, nowhere connected to it anymore.
Yeah.
Like days have passed, wouldn't matter.
Yeah. And the few times I have location tagged, I just put the whole country.
Yeah.
I don't put this place. It's like, the whole country, you can sit it out yourself.
GPS diameters,
Yeah.
But anything with any kind of serious things like bombs going off or shots that have been fired, things like that, I always make sure it's like at least a month or two later.
Far,
I never do it.
Just to cover your ass.
Yeah. Because you never know. Because sometimes you post that stuff and the people or the enemy is like looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they'll
They're
use
very
that
active.
as their own propaganda.
Very savvy.
So it's like, nah, post it later.
Wild.
Make it like a later grand. You don't have to put the actual date if you don't want to. But I do post some of it, but never when it happens. So it's like pass. So just be careful about what you post. Don't post dumb stuff.
Yeah. I think a lot of the stuff is just common sense. Like, don't be a fucking idiot when it comes to stuff like that.
Exactly.
So and then on the flip side for, military side and everything like that, is there any advice you would say? Because obviously, like you said, unlike some people who don't like to give a helping hand, but like what's some good advice you could give to folks?
Well, as Courtney said, reach out to everyone you can, and hey, if people are dicks to you, then whatever.
Just move on,
dicks.
Don't be
but don't be a dick while you're in, because
how people come back to bite you.
Yeah, how people remember you is like, even though you might have been some dumb E2 or E3 when they knew you, how they knew you then is how they're going to think of you every time your name comes up.
Resonates,
So always, I don't know, just always act. And I was guilty of not doing this. So, but always act as if how you're acting is going to be what people judge you off of when you go for a job down the road.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I don't mean
No,
to
you're
interrupt
fine.
you,
That was
but like
literally
that
my
is
big
the
piece of
same.
information.
That was the best piece of advice I got when I was in flight school.
Yeah.
Always show up to school like it's a job interview.
Bingo.
Because
Yep.
typically you would be hired by your flight school.
Correct.
That's the place you're going to work. So you always want to present yourself in that
Yeah.
professional, make people view you as that,
Yep.
you know. So that is so important. I think that's lost, and we get tired of it. I mean, we
Yeah.
get tired of playing the game,
Oh yeah.
but you do. It is important for
Yeah.
sure.
And another piece of advice for those of y'all that have made something of yourself after getting out or whatever, don't be a dick to the people that ask you questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
people ask you a question like, "Hey, how'd you get your job?" Tell them how you got your job.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and
unless you have to like admit you lied on your resume or something like
Right.
that, but don't
Oh.
admit to that stuff.
Oh.
But make up a cool story or something like. But don't be a dick to like young people that want to know, because how you act
That's the
might
next
be
generation.
exactly. They're like, oh wow, this guy's a dick, and who knows?
Yeah.
You know,
And
you
let-
never
let
know
me
when
just-
you're gonna run into that guy again.
Let me just add that I was 26 when I started flight school, and about 32 when I started contracting, somewhere
Yeah.
in there. So you're never too old. It's never too late. If it's your dream,
Do
just
it.
fucking
for
do
it.
it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking do it. If
What's
it's
the worst
what you
that
love,
happens?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You can fall back. I can fall back on cooking.
Yeah, and you never know everything.
Right. That too.
Don't be afraid to not know.
Yeah.
Just
And don't ever have the mentality that you know everything, and
Yeah.
you've been there,
Yeah.
done that. I've got this.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
if you're not learning, you're getting complacent,
And it'll bite you in the ass.
and it will definitely bite you in the ass.
That's
Sometimes
awesome.
in ways that
Yeah.
you can't bounce back from.
Very true. Very true. So, how can everyone find you? What is your Instagram? How can they get in touch with you if they have any
Okay,
questions?
yeah, so Instagram
Well,
is...
first of all, simps need not apply.
Oh, shit.
So if you're gonna simp on her, get lost.
I
Damn.
mean, unless you're Julian Edelman or
Oh, Jesus.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Hugh Jackman can fuck off.
Can fuck off.
Yep.
Chris Hemsworth, no.
Oh, he can apply.
He's
Chris
Thor.
Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, he's
Close
a yeah.
Not the fat one, though. Not the fat Thor.
No, well, I'm not too picky.
That's true.
I
There you
like
go.
Oh,
little.
my
Okay, anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
What's my Instagram? Courtney _Choppa. So
With an H.
CHOPPAH.
There you go. Courtney, CACOR. Whoa. Fuck, man. COURTNEY _CHOPPAH. And of course, as I say that, I'll have it linked so everyone can find it, because
Bingo, bango, bongo.
you probably won't be able to disconcern where the fuck I just said. And then, of course, Tim.
Yeah, and that is TIM _DAS _KRANZ. Tim Das Kranz.
Much better.
Welcome to the chaos.
And obviously, you're aware that we've been posting and resharing all the pictures of our slappers.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh, and share see our faces of them. So,
Faces.
of course, don't forget. And yes, it is two different people. Faces.
Two different people.
We look scarily alike.
Similar.
Very scarily alike.
Yeah, kind of
Somewhere.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, enjoy this episode. Lots of great info. We'll have everything shared and posted. And thanks again for tuning in. And thanks you guys for coming on and spend the time and the day
you.
and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, of course. All right.